regulating AI for 10 years.
On this vote, the yeas are 99. The nays are 1. The amendment is agreed to.
No word on when a final vote on the entire package will take place. The Congressional Budget Office estimates the bill will add over $3 trillion to the national debt. Brian Kohberger, who's accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students, has reportedly agreed to plead guilty to avoid the death penalty. Fox's Jeff Paul.
The families of all 4 victims who were killed are aware of this plea deal. But according to the Kaylee Gonzalez family Facebook page, they confirm it's true, but added they are beyond furious at the state of Idaho, saying they have failed us. Now, Kohberger was accused of fatally stabbing 4 University of Idaho students back in November of 2022. They were Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Gernodal, and Ethan Chapin. Now, Kohberger came into the picture after investigators received hundreds of tips, one of them being that a particular car had been spotted near the scene through security camera footage.
Kohberger would face life in prison as part of the plea deal. Also in Idaho, we're learning more about the man who started the wildfire and fatally shot 2 firefighters and wounded another in the northern part of the state. Police say 20-year-old Wes Rowley was a transient who was living out of his vehicle and had once aspired to become a firefighter himself. Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris says they have not uncovered any kind of manifesto from the suspect in that confrontation at Canfield Mountain, just north of Coeur d'Alene. They say that Rowley opened fire on the firefighters before taking his own life. America's listening to Fox News.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Michaela's Mobile Spa, Michaela! Michaela got a quick business insurance quote from Progressive and chose from over 30 customizable coverages. Sure, it helps she's her only employee and does literally everything. But while others would rest on their laurels, Michaela was hard at work saving big. So take that, hypothetical other employee who doesn't exist. Be your own Michaela. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Subaru of Gwinnett. You'll love the difference. The Morning Extra, only on Extra 106.3.
Morning, y'all. Tug and Los until 10. Thank you for being here up early with us on a Tuesday that actually kind of feels like a Wednesday. Because this, I have been informed by my dear friend Front Office Los, is a short week.
If you did not catch any of the show yesterday, Tug was completely unaware.
Had no idea.
That July 4th is Friday and that we're off.
Had no clue.
So he showed up.
Showing up on Friday.
That would have been amazing.
Here's my little lunchbox.
He put his helmet on Monday morning, 6:03, and he was thinking, I got 5 shows to get to the weekend. And turns out he was told it was 4. Now, by the way, he learned this in the 8 o'clock hour yesterday. So technically, it felt like 3 shows.
It did.
That's pretty good.
Dude, it's the best way. It's the best. Sometimes being dumb is actually beneficial. You know?
That ignorance is bliss.
That's real.
There's some things you just don't want to know about in this world.
It's real.
Like, I'm that guy when it comes to childcare. I tell my wife, just tell me where I need to be, when I need to be there.
Drop off, pick up.
Because if I have to know in advance, it just stresses me out.
I get it, dude. I get it. But, yeah, the world seems like it's in, relative chaos. Well, you know what? It's kind of a balance of Trump victories with the left trying to pull us further into chaos. That's what it seems like we are living in right now.
I feel like things are pretty good. I just left the gas station pump. That was pretty good.
Yeah. And when we were driving to North Carolina, I couldn't help. As I was filling up, I was like, well, that ain't bad.
This is pretty good.
I just left trying to pull us into chaos.
I just sold a house in Florida, and I have to talk with the financial people about what to do with the money, and that feels pretty good.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at Jerome Powell thinking about a drop in interest rates, and that feels pretty good.
If he doesn't. If he doesn't, he's going to wear a pair of hands, I think.
I think last time I went to the grocery store, I got out of there on about $27. That felt pretty good.
Yeah. I like it.
Things are pretty good. I think the left is trying to create this moment of chaos where things are actually pretty good. In fact, I think as I got up this morning and I glanced through Twitter, I still get the random tweets about how bad things are at random hours of the night where are you trying to influence me in some way? Because I know things are pretty good.
Yeah, right. I'm not blind. You can't tell me things aren't good.
Think about what the alternative would have been. Kamala?
Oh, my God, dude.
You know, MAGA's falling apart. Okay.
All right, buddy.
All right, go for it. Yeah, whatever you got to tell yourself. Stay off the Mother Jones message boards.
Well,
Mother Jones Reddit.
If you're talking about old Chip, he jumped in a thread with us and Stephanie. Like, just we're talking about silliness, just fun. I talked about the crazies that rented a house near where we were staying in Oak Island,
where they were flying their Hamas flag.
Yeah, freaking nuts, right? They fly the Hamas flag as they enjoy the things that they say they hate. I hate this country.
I can't believe I'm at a beach house near the beach.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's god-awful. Can't stand it. Let's fly the Hamas flag. And Hamas is decimated at this point. Hamas is like, can we get a peace deal with the Israelis? Can we figure this out?
Like the rest of the Middle East is basically telling everyone in the region, we're going to take over and make sure Hamas isn't part of any of this.
That's exactly right. So they've been decimated, which is a good thing.
But they still got the flag.
They still have the flag because I guess that's all that matters. Just keep flying the flag, fools. But the other thing is you're seeing in Gaza those tribes of people saying, we don't want this anymore. We're sick and tired of this.
I think you're wandering off pace here.
How am I? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you started off by talking about a tweet.
Well, yeah.
Like, where are you going with this?
Well, right. Well, it just got me to thinking about those people flying the flag, and I was like, well, wait a minute. You're the group that you say you, I guess, support or in favor of, like, they don't even support the things that you believe in anymore. That's what in Gaza.
I just know that I get these random things in the middle of the night, and I just go, where is your head?
Yeah.
And and why do you feel so comfortable? I guess because you can do whatever you want. I mean, it's completely free. But why do you then bring your propaganda my way thinking that I care?
Sure, yeah. I have no interest in it. I have no interest in what you're talking about.
I look at it like your Hamas flag. I just roll my eyes and go, I'm glad I know what you're about.
But it does, when you see stuff like that, it's off-putting to me. Like,
why?
Because I don't want to see that in me.
Well, who cares? It tells you everything you need to know. Like,
I know.
Like, what I know is Chip is nuts.
Well,
okay?
Yeah, for
what
sure.
I know is the dude who flies the Hamas flag is nuts. When I saw, this was a fun one. I was driving back from the airport.
Yeah.
Sunday morning. And there was a woman who was doing, I'm guessing about 35, 40 miles an hour in the right-hand lane. You know when you take from 75, 85, the ramp to come over onto 400, that 2-lane ramp?
Yeah.
Okay, so that place is, let's face it, that's the afterburner. It's like, all right, let's put it on the gas a little bit. We're jumping onto 400.
Yeah.
This woman is doing about 40, 45 miles an hour in the right-hand lane, and she has a sticker on the back of her car that says, one woman, one vote. And all I thought to myself is, one woman, learn to drive.
Get over, out of the way.
But it only helped reinforce the fact that I know you're dumb. I've seen you drive. I know you can't operate a motor vehicle. The more that people, again, you want to say it's off-putting, I say it's instructive.
Yeah, and I get it. I do get it, but I don't like seeing it, man. I just don't.
Like, I'm not looking to be in a uniform way of thinking with everyone. I'm glad that there are people that think like us. That's cool.
Yeah, sure, yeah. And the majority does.
And it's a large majority that we're seeing. When we had our consultant meeting and they tried to paint us as far right wing, and I'm like, brother, my tent's bigger than yours.
That's right.
Okay?
I look at it like the end of Inglourious Bastards, where we want to we don't want our Nazis to take off the uniform.
No.
We want to be able to see these people, let them identify themselves, and you just treat them as such.
I want to make sure that I can identify you no matter what all the time. If you choose to be that way, that'd be that way.
There's going to be some really regretful tattoos in about 10 or 15 years.
Well,
I'm thinking right now, there's probably people tattooing that Hamas flag on their shoulder. White kids.
Yeah, fools, no doubt about it. But there's even regrettable tattoos in this building.
Yeah, there are. There's,
I mean, at this control board, there's probably a little bit
Well,
of
no.
ink.
well, I don't know.
Not as.
I mean, I'm just saying, if I had to make a choice, if you're going to force me to do a tattoo that might be visible at some point, a pizza slice versus a caricature of Joe Biden
Yeah.
that isn't making fun of him.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Oh, that's some information you weren't aware of. Suddenly, that slice of pizza doesn't sound so bad now, does it?
I gotta tell you, I'd take 2 slices of pizza.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, could you
Is
imagine?
there an ice cream cone next to him?
I don't know, but
Chocolate
there should
chip.
be. No,
Somebody went out and got a Joe Biden tattoo.
Yeah, they did. And
So it identifies, and again, I don't have a problem with this person. In fact, I like them a lot.
Me too.
But this is one of those moments where I said, wow, your politics is that extreme that you're willing to tattoo an old dementia man with cancer on your body.
and celebrate it.
Or fly the Hamas flag. Or have one woman, one vote on your car. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
I thank you for helping me know who you are.
No, I do. I get it. I just hate seeing
It's
it.
like-
There's just nothing worse.
It's
than
like when
seeing-
you pull up in an F-250.
Yeah, right. Like that lady that we
Like the
played
lady we played yesterday.
She was torn. She was being torn from the inside out trying to figure out what to do.
She's one Hamas flag on her block away
From
voting red.
That's right. Absolutely. But she didn't want to see it. She's like me. She just don't want to see it.
Yeah, we ended the show with a woman who identifies as a liberal, and she had gotten tired of jumping through so many hoops that she flat out was like, I'm going to buy a MAGA hat if y'all don't stop. Like, I'm seriously going to buy a gun and an F-250,
And an F-250.
and I'm joining.
That's exactly. I'm seconds away from joining the Republican Party. So I'm hoping there's more of her. I'm hoping there's more people that just figure this out. But when you see, the Democrats and the way they are, as a matter of fact, I was listening to Stephen A. Smith this morning, a clip from his show when he's talking about Democrats being doomed if they become like Zoran Mamdani. Mom, Donnie, you helped me with it.
Mom
yesterday.
Donnie. It's the only way I can do it.
I know, which is correct.
Mom Donnie.
That's right.
Be like Tim Dillon, just mama lava lava da.
Yeah, exactly. And you can do that in Trump's America. You can do that.
Yes.
A long time ago, not even a long time ago, 4 years ago, we would have been labeled all kinds of
Are
things.
you mispronouncing his name because you're
That's
racist?
exactly right. If the Democrat Party becomes like him, you have no chance. You have no chance on a national basis of the president in Senate seats and House seats. You have no chance. You might have a Democrat socialist sprinkled here and there, but what America is capitalism. It's about dollars and cents. It's about the economy, flourishing economy, okay? It's not about free stuff. Somebody's got to say it, so I'm going to say it. It's not about free stuff. He's right in what he's saying, 100% correct. Problem is, Democrats aren't listening to him, dude. We have a cut of Chris Murphy, Senator Chris Murphy, saying we need to become more like Mamdani.
Well, we saw it last night. All of the argument that is going on with the big, beautiful bill in the Senate.
Yep.
And to see that we actually had a discussion that erupted yesterday afternoon into the evening of having, 1.4 million illegals that are going to be kicked off of Medicaid. And now the argument is, I can't believe we're kicking 1.3 million people off from their health care. They're not supposed to have it anyway.
That's right.
But that's that mentality that you're speaking of, Tug. It's you're entitled, but you're not supposed to be entitled.
And then there's going to be people that says, yep, we want Americans to pay for it. We want you to pay for it. We want Jeray to pay for it. We want me to pay for it. We want you listening right now to pay for it. And like, we're having trouble. You see people having trouble paying for their own health care because of Obamacare and the expense that they've created. Americans can't afford their own health care and got to pay for somebody else's too.
I thought it was funny, and I can't tell you who it was. It was an anonymous person who had just put out a tweet and a post, and it had picked up steam where just random guy had a comment, and a lot of people were reposting it. And he pointed out how I'm being vilified for looking for work that pays for my health care, but I'm supposed to be okay with having to go to work to pay for somebody else's.
Absolutely genius, dude. It's such a great observation. And that's the way most people feel. Right there, summarized in a quick, probably less than 40
it was like 2 lines.
Yeah.
It went perfect. Like, what a way to surmise the situation.
Exactly right, dude. And so many people are tired of it. And especially when you see things happening like Operation Gold Rush that happened, where now, I mean, $14.6 billion The biggest Medicare fraud case in American history. This was all under the Biden administration, man. They turned a blind eye. I'm not so sure they weren't involved in it.
It just feels gross when you see it.
So gross, dude.
Like, there are movies where, they'll have the culprits will steal like $1 million or $5 million. And we all go like, whoa, man, what a crime.
Wow, that's a
no
heist.
wonder the police are all after them.
Heist.
All right, they stole $14.6 billion.
324 people arrested. One scam, one of the
One
many
scam.
$10 million of the 14. Just one.
You want to know the most shocking part?
Please.
Many of these people were not from this country.
Amazing.
Oh, isn't it incredible how that money ends up finding its way into these scam artists and then find its way back to certain people?
See, but that's the thing, that the people that are being arrested, they deserve to be arrested. I don't pretend they don't. But this is not the pound of flesh. This is getting the people that were the ground soldiers.
This is an ounce of flesh. We need a lot more.
Who's behind it? There's people in probably the Medicaid administration or wherever that money generates from. There's people involved at the highest levels of government, no doubt.
If you told me it was $100,000, I think there's a part where you could say, you know what, somebody was idiotic, somebody missed this, because you're talking about dealing with billions. When it is billions, you're either extremely idiotic or you're compliant, like you're helpful in this.
And here's the other thing.
How does $14 billion disappear?
The people on the left, they tell you that government is the answer. This right here tells me government's absolutely not the answer. It's never the answer. They can't do anything correct, ever. They never get it right.
We are going to look back at this era, and hopefully we are going to have 4 years and then hopefully another Republican administration after that. But I think one of the things we're going to circle from this era was just how filthy our government had been for the better part of about 30 or 40 years. And everyone just turned a blind eye to it. And what it really turned into was a whole lot of theater kids that went, wow, I can go make myself a whole bunch of money by being a politician.
Yeah. Or starting a nonprofit.
Or being, hey, I just happen to have the right connections, so my NGO gets funded immediately. I mean, that's one of the huge aspects we're going to look back and be like, how did this all happen?
Man, it's dirty. Filthy is the right word.
To the tune of $37 trillion in debt. You're like, where did that money go?
Well, 324 people got $14 billion of it. That's the start.
Here's the start.
That's the beginning of it. And see, but now think about, in this context, look at it through this lens. The people that did all that, right? Think about those fools that stood out in front of federal buildings and protested DOGE and said, this is terrible, and shutting down USAID.
What do you mean you're taking my federal job that I don't show up at?
Go burn a Tesla.
That's right. This is exactly why DOGE was mandatory. We had to have it. This is the bottom of the barrel, and you're still going to have that 20% talking about how government's going to help. You're going to have Mom Donnie talking about how government's the answer. It sure as hell don't look like it to me.
No, not when you're talking about those amounts of dollars.
Yeah, it's But
it exists as, and this is what I think about every single time we get to April, and I'm thinking about that check I'm writing.
Yeah.
And these are the stories that will just burn you. You're like, seriously, I'm handing this over to you, and it's always the same. Well, don't you want roads and bridges and police and fire department?
It's always
every single time you're like, yes, those are my local taxes. That's what they're paying for. That's what my school taxes are paying for. Yes, I got it.
Yep.
Every time I write this to the federal government, I'm just thinking to myself, how badly are you burning me on this?
Grinding my teeth.
At least with the $400 hammers, we get to keep a damn hammer.
Yeah, but man, I can go to Home Depot and get one for $8. You know, when I remember saying this on social media when I was furious about the money that was not spent on the people of Western North Carolina. And they were telling me, well, what are you going to do? Who's going to take care of this? I was like, well, the federal government's not. I know that already. And they were defending it the whole time, talking to me about how government was the only way that we could save these people in Western North Carolina. And now government's on display again. 324 people arrested. Operation Gold Rush. $14.6 billion of your tax dollars stolen. And those 324 might get justice. The people behind them won't. You already know that. When we come back on Xtra 106.3, what Van Jones says about Donald Trump is going to piss off his comrades. But he's right. Next on Xtra.
Live and local news talk continues at 3 p.m. with Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder. It's the Kimmer Show, only on Xtra 106.3 and the Xtra app.
Been telling you time after time, day after day, this heat was coming. This heat is here. Front Office Los actually going to put some AC down in his new basement. It is important that you have some way of keeping cool this summer. And Central Heating and Air Conditioning, they can do it for you. They can hook it all up. They can give you a brand new Carrier system. They can repair the system that you have, whether it's Carrier or not. They can be out there most days in 24 hours, sometimes the same day you call. That's the way they operate. So I recommend you call Central Heating and Air Conditioning if you're looking for the best company in Atlanta to use when it comes to HVAC. They've been operating in Atlanta since 1947. They've been doing this a while. And right now, if you want a maintenance agreement, you know what that is? That's where they come out a couple times a year, do the tune-up on the HVAC so it lasts a really long time, because those things are expensive. Then when you sign up for that agreement at Central Heating and Air Conditioning, they give $10 from every new agreement to Skyland Trail, providing life-changing care for those who need it most. They focus on expert and evidence-based treatments to help those facing mental health challenges find a path to recovery. How do you get signed up? Call 770-GET-HEAT or go to centralheat.com.
A second opinion with Coach Pete's local trusted advisor, Craig Chandler of Chandler Wealth Management, can reveal red flags and what Coach Pete calls financial termites.
Yeah, let's look behind the scenes and make sure you're doing the right thing. And if you're not, the absolute best time to find out you're doing the wrong thing was before you did it. But now the second best time is today. And maybe you have too many financial termites in your portfolio. Who knows? In financial termites, too much risk, too many fees, and commissions coming out of your money. Say you give a broker $100,000 and then you look at your first statement and it says $90,000 and you didn't do any trading. And so be very careful about it. There's a lot of warning signs that pop up in my head when I hear different things. And if someone is slamming safe alternatives, folks, too, by the way, I mean, we practice risk and safety principles here, making sure you have that properly balanced portfolio. But if you have an advisor who's pushing all safety all the time or all risk all the time, then they're not the real advisors for you, I don't think, for retirement.
Call for a comprehensive review with Craig Chandler, 800-419-6164, 800-419-6164.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-555-1509. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-555-1509. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-555-1509. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-555-1509 or biglou.com.
It's July 1st, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National U.S. Postage Stamp Day. The United States issued the first postage stamp on this day in 1847. Prior to that, mail did not need a stamp to be sent. It would have been paid for by the person who received the letter. Ben Franklin and our first president, George Washington, were the only two faces to appear on stamps until 1856, and Washington has appeared on the stamp more than any other person. Also on this date, in 1873, Henry O. Flipper entered the West Point Military Academy, becoming the first African-American to be appointed to the institution. He would go on to graduate and serve his country, eventually earning the rank of lieutenant before being dishonorably discharged under suspicious circumstances. After years of working to clear his name and reputation, the Army would eventually grant him an honorable discharge, and in 1999, former President Bill Clinton granted him a full pardon. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Tuesday, July 1st. Over 100 new laws go into effect today in Georgia, including the Riley Gaines Act that bars trans athletes from competing against the opposite sex in grades K through 12. Other new laws include a Georgia state tax cut, a ban on cell phones for students in class up to 8th grade, and if you're a hunter, pink is now an approved color alongside safety orange. Demolition began yesterday on the old Atlanta Medical Center with a large audience of former staff on site. Developers and city officials were there to declare the beginning of the Boulevard Next project, which will include housing for teachers, police, firefighters, and nurses. Wellstar CEO Candace Saunders said healthcare services will also be part of the development in the future. Demolition is set to be completed by January 2026. Storms will continue through the early part of this week. Today, starting partly cloudy with storms possible this afternoon. Temperatures will reach the high 80s. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. Download the app so you can listen live and on demand. 404-741-1230 at Extra 106.3 across the social media platforms. I want you to hear something that I just ran across. We know Democrats have no ideas. We know they have no policies. We know they are floundering. They're just spinning their wheels. Now they're screaming, shouting, raising Cain. And most of them don't really say anything when they scream and shout. They don't have any substance behind what they say. They just scream that Donald Trump is bad. Everything he touches is bad. Any suggestions that he makes is bad. There are a few, however, Democrats that go, wait. I think y'all have this all wrong. Let me introduce you to Van Jones. Not one of my favorite people. He and I don't agree politically on much of anything. But he said something that I saw on a podcast that's very, very wise, which is why the Democrats won't listen to him.
Problem is, you have a framework in your mind that, how can Donald Trump? Guys, can we cut it out? Donald Trump is not an idiot. Donald Trump, let me just be very clear. Donald Trump is smarter than me, you, and all critics. You know why we know? Because he has the White House, the Senate, the House.
Totally agree.
Court, the popular vote. He has a massive media ecosystem bigger than the mainstream built around him and for him, and a religious fervor in a political movement around him. And his best buddy is the richest person in the history of the world, and the most relevant Kennedy is with him. This dude is a phenomenon. He is the most powerful human on earth and in our lifetime, and we're still saying, well, how was this guy? We look like idiots.
They look like idiots.
He's now said this a couple different times.
He's starting to figure it out, dude.
He's told this to the CNN audience, and it's always a really good point. You know, what we do, we will characterize our enemy a certain way because it's easier then to discount him or to attack him.
It's always easy to say they're dumb.
It's always easier to do that. What he's pointing out is if you continue to do that, then you're missing the seams on the fastball. If you want to counter Donald Trump, you got to do it in a more, what I would say is this. The regular stuff that works on politicians won't work on him because you didn't make him, you can't break him.
That's right. And the other thing is that where are you going? Like, what is it that you're going to say that is going to be better than what Donald Trump is doing? Donald Trump owns the 80-20 issues. So anytime you say something that's common sense, if you're trying to just be the resistance, which they have, you've got to take the 20% side every time. And that's what Van Jones is recognizing.
And think about how this works. You know, part of what happened during George Bush and what made his reelection, it was going to be like, all right, let's see how this is all going to play out. And it kind of hung over his head. There was two things. You had the Mission Accomplished banner. You also had Hurricane Katrina. Those were two areas where you were able to attack him. And yeah, he still served his 2 terms and he had his 8 years, but it did damage him politically. They have called Donald Trump a buffoon. They have said that he overestimated his worth. They have tried to prosecute him 4 different times in 4 different areas. They called him a rapist, okay? Like, they've tried everything They even were talking about 1 million people dead. It's all because of Donald Trump, and here's the pandemic. And yet he won the popular vote in 7 swing states. What Van Jones is pointing out is that your normal tactics do not work on him.
That's just another win. Van Jones recognizing that his entire party treats Donald Trump like he's an idiot. That's another win for Trump, because all it does is roll out the red carpet for him to do anything he wants to do and have 80% of the country right behind him.
If you want to beat Donald Trump, and here's where they're going to come up short, they've got to create their own cult of personality. The problem is there's so many rules, you'll never get there.
Yeah, how can you?
Because Donald Trump doesn't play by any of the rules. Again, like one of the first things that I brought up when we started talking about, what kind of occurred with Donald Trump. Remember, this is a guy who, when it came to coming down the escalator, he starts talking about border security and getting rid of these people. And the rest of the country's like, oh my God, like you can't say that. You can't say that illegals are committing crimes. You can't say that they're flooding our country.
And at the time you couldn't.
And what happened? His number skyrocketed.
Because people are naturally drawn to the truth.
People went, that is not a politician. I'm interested in that.
And that's why, like Van Jones said, he's not an idiot.
He's not an
smarter
idiot.
than all of us.
He knows what he's doing.
He's so successful. He took the House, he took the Senate, took the presidency, he got the popular vote, he took the Electoral College, all by merely telling the truth. Dude, the Democrats will never do that because they're not allowed to say the things that Donald Trump says.
No, imagine that you did have somebody who comes along, and man, they wanted it to be Mayor Pete so badly.
Oh, yeah. Did you see his polling numbers?
Yes, he's got 0% when it comes to the black vote.
Zero.
Zilch. Why? It's as I've told you, the black community will not vote for a gay man, okay? Just how it goes. Just how it's going to be. Whatever.
You're the bad guy for saying it, though.
But I've been telling it to you for 3-4 years.
Oh, I know.
Been telling all my Democrat friends. What about Mayor Pete? I'm like, you'll lose all the black vote.
But it's the truth. But you're the bad guy for saying it. Even though it's true and people are drawn naturally to the truth, they may not be able to agree with you out loud, but when they hear it, they're saying Los
This was
right.
a party with so many issues that they had a ready-made governor in Pennsylvania that would have been an ideal running mate, who wanted to be the running mate to Kamala Harris. And they're like, nope, Jewish. Can't do it.
Have you seen our supporters out in front of those colleges?
They're not fans of Israel.
They're not going to.
So you're trying to create any sort of momentum. So what do you have? The only answer is, and it shouldn't even be, because again, demeaning Donald Trump or doing any of that, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. You're going to have to create your own cult of personality, and by doing so, you're going to have to get rid of your rules.
They can't do that.
And I don't believe they can.
No, they can't.
Too many rules.
They absolutely cannot. Can some moderate Democrats that genuinely love the country, we just disagree on policy, we disagree on method, can they leave and start their own party? Maybe. But the people that run the DNC, when they, in 2012, embraced socialism as their platform, they can't escape it. It's who they are. It is what they do. It's like saying stop breathing. You'll die. You can't.
Well, and what's problematic for them is that they'll always have, and I guess I could call it a pop vote. There's, hey, we got a governor in California. Hey, we got a mayor in New York. Hey, we got a city councilwoman in this particular. It's always a pop vote. It's always, oh, hey, and hey, that's our next star. And then they start talking, and then you see how they got elected, and you recognize that would never work nationally. It'll work on the coast. It'll never fly in Nebraska or Iowa.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the next step, right? New York City. They're doing the same exact things. It'll work in New York City because there's enough people there that'll be like, oh, that sounds great.
Well, look, they got a D next to their name.
I'll vote for them.
Even though the state's getting tighter, but New York City is what it is.
And you're going to have a mass exodus, there's no doubt, because New York City is not going to be able to withstand this, just like California's not. When you see Gavin Newsom start saying, now we can't fund health care for every illegal. I know we said we could, but I was wrong. He never said I was wrong. He just stopped doing it. He stopped voting for it. And now people are pissed at him because of it. That's exactly what's going to happen in New York. And it's easy because you're seeing them eat themselves right now. There was someone that busted in on Mamdani's press conference. We'll play it for you here. And this dude comes in. He's wearing the keffiyeh. He's got all the uniform on, and he starts screaming at what I expect to be the next mayor of New York City, and saying, "How can you say that Israel has the right to exist?"
What do you say about politicians that constantly reaffirm Israel's right to exist? Because people like me are constantly attacked by politicians for standing up for Palestine, and you are constantly defending the right for Israel to exist. My family is in Palestine right now, constantly under attack, and I'm hearing you say free Palestine, but also Israel has the right to exist. Don't be hypocritical. Don't be hypocritical and say free Palestine when you're also defending the right for Israel to exist. It does not have the right to exist. It does not have the right to exist. It's not your land to say it has the right to exist.
He's not communist enough.
What did I say last segment? I said invariably, it always goes back to the same thing. Destroy Israel. Always. No matter what.
Iran, the Palestinian movement, Hamas,
always.
Hezbollah, all of their stated goals and all their founding documents say Israel must be destroyed. That is their platform.
So Mamdani is playing the game of playing both sides, and now you have somebody who's upset about that. Because what you need to do with the very strong communist view has always been, we got to get rid of Israel. Now, truth be told, Israel was in part founded by communists. Okay, like that's who banded together to help get the British out. And actually, they lived with their neighbors for quite a long time in relative peace. This is this weird mentality that you've now had shift, where if you don't say destroy Israel, well, you're not down for the struggle. If you say, hey, let them live together, well, you're not down for the struggle. If you happen to say two-state solution,
you beat me to it.
You're not down for the struggle. There's only one way to show your communist tattoo that you're in the right place. It's say Israel should not exist.
And that's why it was so alarming for me when we were in Oak Island to see those Hamas flags flying next to houses with American flags, because that's how they feel. That Mamdani and that way of acting and functioning, they want that for the entire USA.
But you see how he runs from that stuff.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. He was smiling, uncomfortable smiling.
He is so busy talking about, because he knows his lane is social issues and spending. Like Clay Travis has this, and this was from one of his previous campaigns and his speeches. And by the way, it says, rally to free our people. Because always it's about the people, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's a communist message. I'm here for the people. The people. Mamdani said, quote, violence is an artificial construction. Real violence, Mamdani, is district attorneys prosecuting cases.
Right. Of course.
That's the game.
Right. We're going to demonize the people that are upholding the law.
We've got to deal with the system.
And support the people that are burning cities.
Which is why he'll never get into any of the other issues. In fact, his point about taxation. He's like, some of the people in New York are overtaxed. Some of them are undertaxed. Well, I just gave you both ends of it, right? Well, who's overtaxed? I must be, right? He can't be talking about me. I can't possibly be undertaxed.
Yeah, it's easy to pick sides.
You play the game. And then in the meantime, when you say, well, what's overtaxed? Well, it's just overtaxed.
Yeah, paying too much.
It's like I remember having this discussion. This goes back like 20 years with my brother-in-law. Because he was really big into the whole, like, pay your fair share.
Yeah, of course, yes.
And I did the, what's my fair share?
What's your fair share, too, by the way?
Will you define that for me?
Okay.
Can you give me a number based on income? Can you please give me what my fair share is?
They would never, because then the math doesn't work.
Math does not work. The math doesn't do any mathing.
You can't, because then if you've told people, they can't rally behind you because they'll probably fall into the tax bracket that you want to blow up.
No, but here's the good part about the news media losing their stranglehold on the narrative. The rise of the podcast world, the rise of what we've got with apps. We're not tied into you have to listen at this time and you got to check out. It's like, I'm glad y'all do listen live. Love it. But the fact that you can access this show, and many of you do after we're done, is awesome. That's totally cool. Information is flowing so incredibly differently now. And Elon Musk has a part in that too. That I don't believe that you can do a Kamala Harris-style campaign anymore where you just don't say anything.
Mm-mm.
Eventually, people are going to be like, we need details here. Now, maybe not New York, but nationally, nationally, people are going to say, you better be able to tell me what you have in mind. Because you just can't be the whole, like, again, the Obama bucket. Fill me with whatever you want. I'll be that for you.
Yeah, the basement Joe, the Biden tactic that worked then doesn't work anymore. I think people are starved for information and they're looking for it all the time. And they'll go where they feel like they can get it from an honest point of view. And that means seeing the other side that you don't agree with at all. And being okay with seeing that. I'm okay with seeing it. Like Lo said earlier, that tells me where the crazy is. All I have to do is listen to Mom Donnie, and I know where the crazy is. I know I don't need to go to New York. I know I ain't lost nothing up there. I know all my family, my wife's family, has moved here to get away from it themselves. So many other people have too. Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Xtra, and Xtra 106.3, 6 o'clock hours, brought to you by Subaru of Gwinnett. When we come back, it's tariffs. These tariffs, it's doubtful that CNBC wanted to tell you that Trump's tariffs are paying off. Next on Xtra.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Tuesday, July 1st. The Atlanta Braves are back in action. After an off day yesterday, the Los Angeles Angels are at Truist Park to open up a 3-game series. It'll be Didier Fuentes on the mound for the Braves. Tyler Anderson gets the ball for the Angels tonight at Truist Park. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can listen to the game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. The Atlanta Hawks have continued to make moves with their offseason. They've agreed to a sign and trade deal with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He comes over from the Minnesota Timberwolves in exchange for a draft pick. He also receives a 4-year deal worth $62 million. The shooting guard was one of the best defensive players on the market. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Your Atlanta Braves are celebrating family, freedom, and fun during Independence Week, July 1st through the 6th, when the Angels and Orioles come to Truist Park. Tickets and parking start at just $10. And don't miss the epic fireworks show on July 4th. Plus, fans can enjoy Americana-themed music and activations all week long, like pregame parades with high fives from the players and meet and greets with real bald eagles. And if you're looking for some new merch, check out the Braves Outlet Store inside Truist Park to score some major deals. Fans can enjoy any of these games during the week with the T-Mobile Summer Steal Deal. With the Summer Steal, you can choose from one of 3 seating locations for any regular season game, weekends included, and receive a ticket, snack, and a drink for as low as $30. Or if you prefer something different, you can choose any menu item up to $12. Visit Braves.com/steal to purchase your tickets today. Atlanta Braves baseball. We are Braves country.
Yellow Jacket fans, your Georgia Tech football team went undefeated at home last year, and we're gearing up for another historic season at Bobby Dodd Stadium at Hyundai Field. The swivel, he pulls it, he runs right, he's got a lane toward the pylon, and in! Touchdown, Jackets! And he rumbles in for 6. Support head coach Brent Key and the Jackets on game day by visiting RamblingWreck.com/tickets to get your single game seats today. Sting 'em.
U.S. Demand and Supply Operations lead positions offered by UCB Manufacturing, Inc., Smyrna, Georgia. Accountable for leading and managing supply chain operations in the United States through achieving target service levels, mitigating operational risks, and delivery of key product launches. Position based in Smyrna, Georgia. Telecommuting permitted up to 60% of time. Travel required up to 10% of working time, 5% international, 5% domestic. If interested, apply with resume to hranswers@ucb.com. Reference 801-9433.
You could save big when you bundle your auto, home, motorcycle, RV, or boat. Visit Progressive.com.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
A musician from North Carolina who received a big surprise while testing out some new guitars makes today's Dean's List. 16-year-old Evan Sterling had just started playing guitar and was testing out a few at a local store. Impressed by what he was hearing, a stranger stopped and watched Evan. A few minutes later, the man came in and brought a guitar case into the store. He handed it to Evan and said, "It's yours. The paperwork is in the case. Please take it." When Evan opened up the case, he realized it was a Fender Telecaster valued at $1,500. Evan and his dad looked at the manager of the store to see if there was a catch, but he said it was totally legit and has seen the man do this kind of thing before. Evan says this moment has inspired him to do the same thing one day for someone else and says, "Someday in the future, I will pay it forward. Maybe buy a super expensive guitar and give it to some kid at a guitar center." Janice Dean, Fox News.
Stream Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, Glenn Beck, Fox News, and even NASCAR on Sundays, anywhere on the Extra 106.3 app. Download the app now and get 24/7 access to the live stream, the latest news, and everything you need to know about Atlanta's only conservative talk station. Download the Extra 106.3 app for Apple or Android and check out even more great original content at thepodcastpark.com.
Tariffs were a big discussion just a few months ago when Donald Trump was like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to reset pretty much the world economy, and we're going to base it on tariffs like we used to do before we had an income tax. I want you to hear from CNBC, and I'm not sure that they were excited to tell you this, that all of a sudden, and you can hear the surprise in the anchor's voice when she hears the amount of money that is coming into the U.S. coffers based on tariffs.
Look how much we've been collecting in revenues. And I did this in part because Wilfred's here and he can talk about the UK trade deal. But just this is the monthly numbers. And they have gone up a lot. June is actually set for another big increase of $27 billion. That is money coming into U.S. coffers from tariffs. We are collecting a lot of revenue. So far, guys, $121 billion has flowed into the U.S. government since the start of the fiscal year. It's still a tiny portion of the overall revenues that the U.S. government gets, but it's increasingly a lot, especially we haven't seen it in terms of the consumer paying off higher inflation.
That's the moment.
It's increasingly
a
lot. You see,
a lot.
Surprise in her voice was so fantastic.
Which the projection for even the next month and the next month continues to rise.
Absolutely. And if you look at the big, beautiful bill, it says we will collect $1 trillion over the next 10 years.
It's increasingly a lot.
It's just the confusion. It's just a surprise. You know, it's fantastic.
Well, I want to go back to what we talked about. We were in this wait and see approach.
Sure.
I brought up that tariffs were not something that I ever grew up with because it was not something we really executed since the early 1920s.
Yeah.
You know, it's not been part of what we do on a regular basis because we do have the income tax. So now to see, in order to get our financial house in order, you bring them back as a negotiating tool. And to have it work in the way that it has, I mean, you can't argue with the fact that there's more money in the coffers, yet there's no inflation.
That's the reason that I feel like, and there's no way for me, man, I can't comprehend all the big, beautiful bill. I know the parts of it. I know what the goal is. But everything Donald Trump has told me that he's going to do, he's done. And everything he's laid out, no matter how much abuse he's taken, even from Elon Musk on this one, he said this bill will change what America looks like. It will reduce the deficit ultimately because it's a tax bill. That's what it is. We're going to figure out how to use just the economy and use it to our benefit, resetting the world economy. He told China, I mean, maybe our biggest adversary, but one that we are coupled with when it comes to the economy. He said, I'm going to charge you 145% tariff. What'd you think of that? And they were like, oh, wait.
Well, hold on. He told them, I'm going to charge you 127%. And they go, well, why don't you do it? He goes, 145
That's
then.
what I meant. I misspoke here. About to get it right, though. And they flinched. Canada, the exact same thing. They had some sort of cyber tax that they were going to impose.
For 72 hours.
Yeah, and gone, done. Because Donald Trump was like, fine, bring it, do it. He is able to do the things that he's telling you he's able to do. And he's yet to have one bite him in the butt. That's why when I look at the big, beautiful bill, does it add to the deficit? Yes, it does. But I do believe ultimately, whether it's the $1 trillion over 10 years when it comes to what tariffs will bring in, or the added border security, we're not spending billions and billions and billions on trying to seal up the border. Those cuts in cost are going to benefit the American people. I have no doubt.
I am not MAGA. You are not MAGA. But what have we said on this radio program on a regular basis? The man tells you what he's going to do, and then he tries to do it. That is, and it's really at the heart of when people say, well, he's a nationalist. Yes, he is. He's one of the very few that's out there in the world. And so everything has always been in the best interest of America. So why would I have to, at this point, I have to cast my lot with saying this bill, albeit monstrous, with spending that should bother everyone.
Yep.
If he says it's in the best interest of this nation, why would I not take him at his word right now?
He's proven to me over and over and over.
These first 6 months.
Exactly right, dude.
It's like a promo for how to get the nation back in order, featuring the nationalist dictator. Whatever name you want to call him.
Exactly right.
He started off by just taking the laws of the land and saying, let's seal up the border immediately. Let's get these prices under control. Let's get inflation under control. 6 months. And the tariffs, as much as I was like, let's wait and see. Let's see what it is. It's working. So why would you not continue to say and give the benefit of the doubt to this administration? That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's what I always want to do. Because I feel like he loves the country like I love the country, like you love the country. And he wants to see the country succeed because he is a nationalist, because he loves America more than maybe anything else. And he's proven it over and over and over again. And that's why I'm like, with Elon Musk, I don't think Elon's wrong. He sees a monstrous bill. He sees deficit spending, which we're all opposed to. We've all talked about being opposed to, and I'm opposed to as well. But I feel like you got to give the guy a chance. If you shut the government down, if you don't get this reconciliation bill done, and then you have to depend on the Democrats moving forward, what do you think you're going to get out of them?
Not a lot.
Nothing.
That's the game. To me, and I don't think that there's anything that Elon is bringing up that foundationally, fundamentally doesn't make sense.
That's right, 100%.
Because you are creating more debt.
That's right.
All right, what are you creating debt in? In what interest? Like, for instance, if you were to take on $500,000 in debt tomorrow, Tug, I'm going to say, well, what did you do that for? And you might say, I'm starting my own business. Here's what my projections are. Here's what I believe. Now, debt can be a tool. It can also be a giant burden. It's the whole reason why student loan debt, you go, wait a minute, what's the return on that? What are you studying? Okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Underwater basket waving ain't going to get you a dollar bill.
It's probably not going to help out on that one. So I have to take it at his word that this is what Donald Trump intends to do with this. But at the same time, I don't think that Elon Musk is wrong for being concerned about enhancing your debt.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, we're talking about taking out more debt and more spending in the interest of reshaping our global economy, and that it's going to be long-term better for the United States.
And I feel like Elon Musk probably should be able to see the challenges of working within government versus working within a private business. Because government, you have to give and take. There is a lot of negotiation because you have to have people that don't necessarily like you or agree with you to go along with you to accomplish something. When you own a business and run a business, it's just, here's what we're doing. If you don't like it, leave.
What a weird place that we're all in, that we do have elements of the swamp. We have longtime politicians who want to make sure they get their end of everything. We have people who are up for re-election, so they have to make sure they get their own victories. And then you have your enemies, your people who don't back you at all. So you're having to meld all of this together. It's like, it's not just one hand washes the other. It's these four hands wash these four other hands. And now we got to figure out exactly what it's going to become of it. And so this is a whole lot of horse trading going on.
And juggling. Yeah.
And foundationally, if you're telling me that we are going to have this tax code as permanent, okay, that's about as much runway as you can give businesses to know what's coming.
And the CBO, when they scored this, we can pretend the CBO is not biased. They're not partisan. And about 20 years ago, that was probably true. That's not the case anymore. The things the CBO has said about this bill and how awful it is, they are completely partisan. 80% of the people that are on the board there at the CBO, at the Congressional Budget Office, are all registered Democrats. Take it with a grain of salt what they say. You have to. Says the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. The party's most proud to be an American. I bet you can guess which one it is. Next on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3.
Sports is only live on Extra 106.3, bringing you daily commentary on the biggest topics of the day. Catch him throughout the day or hear his latest on the Extra 106.3 app.
Convenience is defined as the state of being able to proceed with something with little effort or difficulty. And at RBM of Atlanta, we embody this definition. Convenience is our middle name. Meet our Mercedes-Benz pickup and delivery service. It gives you back time and money. Does your Mercedes-Benz need service? If so, we'll pick up your vehicle that's requiring service from your home or office and bring it back to our dealership for those services. And once the services have been complete, we'll bring your Mercedes-Benz back to you. With over 100 appointments available every weekday, over 50 appointments on Saturdays, and more than 200 courtesy vehicles in our fleet, we're here to serve. We'll work around your schedule. We're here to save you time, energy, and money. RBM of Atlanta is a J.D. Power 2025 Diamond Dealer of Excellence for the customer sales experience. And we're proud to be Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964. Pickup and delivery service restrictions do apply. Ask your service coordinator or service advisor at RBM of Atlanta for details. Join A Second Chance Bail Bond CEO Daniel Madelon and host Tug Coward for the weekly radio show Back Your Blue. They will highlight special initiatives, criminal justice programs, and community events aimed at keeping our communities safer. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to learn some good news about and from the law enforcement and justice communities. Tune in on Saturdays or catch up on all past episodes wherever you get your podcasts or at thepodcastpark.com.
No one plans on going to jail, but when it happens, it's important that you know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds, where we believe everyone deserves a second chance. Whether your loved one's been arrested in Cherokee, Clayton, or any of the other metro Atlanta counties in between, A Second Chance Bail Bonds works fast to help expedite release within hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT or online at atlbail.com.
There's a tidal wave of clean car happiness sweeping across Braves country. Tidal Wave Auto Spa is your go-to car wash destination for a game day ready ride. Experience Major League Clean at Tidal Wave, the official car wash of the Atlanta Braves. Stay clean car happy all season long with membership discounts, exclusive giveaways, and more. Visit TidalWaveAutoSpa.com/Braves for details.
My car is happy. I am happy. Tidal Wave Auto Spa.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Retirement means different things to different people. Some folks want to travel the world. Some folks want to spend more time with grandkids. For me, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my guitar. Whether extravagant and robust or simple and cozy, every retirement needs a plan. You wouldn't take a trip without directions. You have to know where you are before you know where you're going. Master Plan Retirement Consultants have helped many like you plan for their own retirement. Not only does Master Plan help you create the roadmap, they join you on the journey. So whether you want to travel the world, become a pickleball champ, or just looking for a good porch, a sturdy rocking chair, and an acoustic guitar, remember to plan well because the destination is worth it. Visit masterplanretired.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
They can't define the word Nazi because of the history behind it and how insulting it is to the families of 6 million people that were killed by the Nazis and obliterated.
The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app. WFOM and W292 EV Marietta on Dickey Broadcasting Station. This hour is presented by Van Sant Law. VanSantLaw.com.
All day and all of the night. I'm Chris Foster. Fox News debate and votes on amendments to the Republicans' so-called One Big Beautiful Tax and Spending Bill continue as a vote-a-rama that started yesterday morning rolls on. One amendment removes a block on state and local governments from enforcing their own artificial intelligence regulations for 10 years.
They voted twice against a plan to bar illegal immigrants from receiving Medicaid. That was a provision that was stricken from the bill by the Senate parliamentarian, the referee in these matters here. And also, the Senate has voted 99-1 to take out a provision imposing an AI moratorium by the states and local governments for the next decade. That was taken out. That's something that was not in the original House bill, and that's something that will satisfy the House of Representatives.
Fox's Chad Pergam at the Capitol. President Trump suggests taking a look at federal subsidies to Elon Musk's companies after Musk calls the One Big Beautiful Bill utterly insane. Brian Kohberger agrees to plead guilty to the 2022 murders of 4 University of Idaho students at their off-campus home in a deal to spare him the death penalty. The family of at least one victim, Kaylee Goncalves, wants him dead.
In a letter to the victims' families, the prosecutor explained, quote, "We cannot fathom the toll that this case has taken on your family. This resolution is our sincere attempt to seek justice for your family." But the family of Kaylee Goncalves is angry, posting on their family Facebook page that they told prosecutors they did not want this plea deal. In a statement saying, quote, "Brian Kohberger facing a life in prison means he would still get to speak, form relationships, and engage with the world. Meanwhile, our loved ones have been silenced forever." I also spoke to Kaylee's father last night, who told me, quote, "This isn't what we fought for."
Fox's Chanley Painter. 2 firefighters shot and killed in an ambush attack near Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, are identified as 43-year-old Frank Harwood and 52-year-old John Morrison. America's listening to Fox News.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Michaela's Mobile Spa, Michaela! Michaela got a quick business insurance quote from Progressive and chose from over 30 customizable coverages. Sure, it helps she's her only employee and does literally everything. But while others would rest on their laurels, Michaela was hard at work saving big. So take that, hypothetical other employee who doesn't exist. Be your own Michaela. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Wake up with the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3 Atlanta.
On Friday, we are going to celebrate the greatest country that's ever graced the face of the earth. In our studio, I look across the room. There is a wooden cutout of the American flag with the Pledge of Allegiance on it. If I turn around in the exact opposite direction, I see an American flag behind me. If I look toward Front Office Los and through the window into our sales pit here at Dickey Broadcasting Company here at the Battery, Atlanta, right over Los's head, I see the American flag. So in 3 of the 4 directions that I look, I see the American flag because we here at Extra 106.3 and Dickey Broadcasting Company are very proud to be Americans. We're very proud of the country that we live in. We feel like this country is greater than anything else that's ever happened. This country, Los, is not even, so it was never supposed to happen. A country like this shouldn't happen. It's never happened in the world, probably won't ever happen again. It's always been a dictatorship or a monarchy. It's never been a government of the people, for the people, by the people. Does it have flaws? Yes. Is it perfect? No. But is it the most amazing place in the world? Yes. I feel like that's the case, and I know you do too.
Not since the Roman Republic. And it wasn't like the Roman Republic created the scenario of we should have free people all over the world. That didn't happen. But what happened when the United States formed? And what happened when you had the idea that the people will govern? Well, that inspired the rest of the world. It then became largely a struggle for the next 100, 150 years of just how free can people be. We saw it across Europe. We saw it as just as recently as the 1990s as the Soviet Union fell apart, and how many of those former Soviet states were like, we want that freedom.
We like whatever y'all got.
What they've been doing, we want all that. That's everything we want.
Yeah.
And so at the very least, and yes, we have had issues when it comes to this country in terms of, I said, we're not always the good guy. We have gotten ourselves involved in things around the world. We have not always been the good guy. But do I believe in what the foundational elements of this country were intended to be? Hell yeah. And I believe it changed the world.
And it's surprising to me when the Democrat Party, or people in the Democrats, people that are registered Democrat, vote Democrat, when they don't love the American flag, when they don't love what the United States is all about. It's always surprising to me. I know Liberal John called in that day and he's like, man, I'm proud of the flag. We disagree with him on a lot of things. But he said, I don't want to give that up. And I got to tell you, man, it gave me respect for John that I don't have for a lot of people that are in the Democrat Party, because they don't feel that way.
Well, that was off of a poll that ended up being used by Bill Maher, where he talked about 75% of registered Democrats do not enjoy identifying as Americans. And Bill Maher was sitting back like, are you kidding me? Like, his entire view is, you have the rights to say and do what you want because you're an American, so why would you not identify as such or choose to identify as such? Well, Gallup had a poll, came out yesterday, and what were the numbers? If you go back to 2001, percentage who say they are very or extremely proud to be an American. Democrats, 87%. Republicans, 90%. Where are we today? Republicans, 92%.
We've gone up a little bit.
Democrats, 36%.
Good Lord.
So we're talking about this huge shift where more than 50% of Democrats that just 20-some years ago were like, hey, 2001, we've been through some stuff, but we're proud to be Americans, have now become the party of anti-America. 36% say that they are proud or extremely proud to be Americans.
And if you look at what the Democrats were 20 years ago, they were open about talking about, making America a better place. They were talking about closing borders. They were talking about, of course, we don't want illegals on Medicare or Medicaid. Of course, we don't want that. We don't want to pay for somebody else's that's not even supposed to be here. If you look at some of the issues that they held firm on, it's very much the same as what the Republicans do today. I don't know how they've gone so adrift. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is that made them go, you know what? Let's just wad this up and throw it away. Let's just embrace something completely different, like AOC would say.
What if I was to tell you, Tug, I'm going to sit next to you every single day and say, Tug, you're extremely talented. You're one of the nicest people I know. Everything that you have, you've earned. I wish nothing but the best for you and your family.
Man, I would be like, thank you, dude.
You'd be like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, what if I sat next to you every day and told you you're a victim?
Right.
Every day.
Yeah.
And all of my messaging was that you're a victim. And
eventually you start to believe it.
Eventually you will look at, and this is the fun part about all of this, you will start blaming the entirety of the system for your own victimhood status. That the reasons why you don't have the things you believe that you should have, or that the injustices that are going on, because that term is now way injustice.
Oh my goodness!
I can't believe I paid this over at Publix. What an injustice! It's so loose now. That creates the victimhood mentality. And so if you want to tell me what I think has changed within the Democrats over the past 24, 25 years with this Gallup poll, it's that more of them has swallowed that poison. And they've adopted that poison. And now they view America as something that's poisonous.
Yeah, the oppressor in a group of people that will just hold anybody down for any reason, especially if it's skin color, especially if it is political, beliefs or whatever. They take, it's almost like they believe America takes pride in holding people down, and it's truly the exact opposite. America's at its best when everybody has the opportunity.
I mean, let's talk about you. I like this to make it about you.
I don't know. This is my least favorite.
After a 20-year career in country music, which you have still continued, you were asked, hey, do you want to talk about this on a political show? And you felt motivated to say, you know what, there's some things I want to say. And now that is successful. All right. You have put together a successful career. You've actually transitioned to doing something completely different that most people would never consider doing.
Never in a million years expected to do this.
And it only happens in this country, in my opinion. And so when you talk about like, okay, what is my experience with the American dream? It still came back to what? You're willing to work hard at trying something new and being the best you could at it. Now,
Grind.
Now, that is what I'll be drinking to July 4th. All right? Like,
Yeah,
I'm going to be like, this is what
because
is the opportunity.
Your story is very similar because you did sports for 20.
Mine is very similar. Now, I was always, like, every day off the air was, let's go talk to Los about politics. It's like, come in the back room and, hey, Los, what'd you think about this?
It's all whispers.
Here's what I would say about that. Here's what's really going on. Here's what I would point out. But that is the ability within this country to adapt and to work hard and to create scenarios for yourself that are better for you and your family. And yet, this Gallup poll will tell you that only 36% of Democrats take that sort of feeling when it comes to their country and say that they are proud to be part of this system, proud to be part of what this American experience is.
You know what that shows me, dude? They're so weak-minded. Literally, they can be brainwashed into believing that the greatest country on earth that the world's ever experienced is bad.
Have you ever, I mean, you see it with Aunt Peg, all right?
Do I ever?
Like she, and I guess this is what occurs. There are these moments where they have created their own matrix, all right? Their own like world of illusion in front of them, and they believe in every piece of it. And every now and then something breaks through and it causes them to maybe think a little differently. But now, the importance of what goes on is that now the news media has to get that person back. Like I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine. They were talking about an issue they had with their kid. I brought up a point about it, and she kind of looked at me like, wait a minute, like you're like the conservative radio guy. Like you're not supposed to think that. And I was like, well, that's what I think. And it, for a moment, kind of removed the construct of, wait a minute, you're just a regular person who's taken an interest in my child and actually told me something that might be very helpful for them. It's like, yeah.
You don't have all the constraints. You don't have all the boxes.
Right, I don't have all the boxes. But her view of what I believe and how we all would treat, somebody who's going through something is, well, this is the only way they think. So what's the thing she has to do? She has to run back to the news media to get reprogrammed.
Right, yeah.
She needs to be back in that matrix. Because if you get a little dose of red pill reality...
You sound like the girl we played yesterday at the end of the show.
She got red pilled a bit. That's what happens. It changes your mind. And my only, because you can say, well, what is your construct, Los? What is it that you believe in? I believe in being left alone.
Period.
And you being left alone. And let's just go do what we're going to do. How does that make me the one living in a certain construct?
Yeah, how are you the bad guy? Because that's all I've ever thought that the federal government should do. Defend the borders and create an environment for people to be successful. Now, you have to be successful on your own merit. You have to work hard. You have to roll up your sleeves. You have to use the elbow grease. And the first attempt might not go the way you think it is. It may not be until attempt number 10. And I'll use the example of Ted Turner. How many times that dude failed before he came up with CNN?
Quite a bit.
But that's it, right? He didn't say, man, this America, when he failed the first 9 times, he didn't say this America's terrible.
Go look at the story of Abraham Lincoln. How many times
that's another one,
he failed attempting to get into office before it finally clicked for him, before it finally turned into what it turned into. And he is one of America's most famous and prominent presidents in history. One of the things that I was looking at this poll, and go and get up to the Gallup poll, which if you're just now joining us. So yesterday, Gallup released a poll. In 2001, Democrats, 87% said that they were very or extremely proud to be an American. That's now fallen to 36%. Republicans in 2001 was 90%. It's now 92%. So the low number, by the way, for Republicans during this 25-year period is 84%. And that was during our forever wars. Now, you can go back to even the Obama era, where Republicans were at 89%. So at no point did we ever swap our values based on who was leading this country. Yet, the Democrats, on a whim, on a movement, are you telling me that in 25 years that the country has changed that significantly? that you would lose from
Never.
87% to only 36%.
Never, ever have I ever not been proud of being American. Was I disappointed in Forever Wars? Absolutely.
Was I disappointed in aspects of what we've been involved in? Absolutely, 100%.
Sure. And to this moment, that stands. Like that whole USAID stuff is embarrassing to me.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's not America. That's somebody that's sinister inside using America. That's what that is.
You want me to go back to it?
Yeah.
We're the ones who enabled COVID. It was our tax dollars. We helped fund and create this because we wanted to know what was going on in biolabs around the world.
RFK said it out loud.
He pointed it out. We're the ones who did it. And Anthony Fauci's going to have to testify in front of Congress. So, again, if you're going to then tell me, well, what has America done that's been so bad? I would say, I don't know, take what the number is. Is it 5 million around the world dead? We killed a whole lot of grandmas off of stuff we were doing with our money. We have not always been the good guy, but are we a great place? 100% absolutely.
Man, there's never been a point that I wasn't like the little meme or this little cartoon, the little gif of the eagle. Have you ever seen that eagle with the arms?
Yes.
And he's walking around with machine guns.
Birds with the arms is great.
Dude, anytime you get a bird with the arm, look at this, Lowe's. This is me. And this has always been me, right here. Freaking bald eagle. Walking around. And then he'll throw his machine guns down and start swinging his dukes. You know, that's me with the American flag. I've always felt this way because I realize that America's an idea and there are bad people in America that will bastardize the great idea.
Yeah. To think that you had a bunch of men who essentially were committing treason. That's what they were doing. It was treason is the reason for the season. That's always July 4th.
That's exactly right.
That's just the way it is. And I really need my George Washington shirt to get here with the sunglasses and the
dude, it's the best.
Treason is the reason for the season.
No, it's the best.
But there is something about you had men that got together and they had done their research. They knew when Rome was working what it was working on. They had known about the frailty of man when it comes to gaining power and how he'll crave it. And so they built a system, lined it out, knowing, okay, Articles of Confederation, this is not working. All right, what are we going to redo? What are we going to put together? And a constitution came together where you could actually check man's aggression towards power.
It's so natural. It is so. I mean, from the time of Adam and Eve to where we are now, it is just natural to crave and want the things that you're not supposed to have or can't have, and you'll do anything for it. And that's where I see the Democrat Party right now, because they've decided that the values of America are not good enough for them to gain enough. And so they're embracing another form of government, or at least the idea of government, and saying, well, socialism, let's do that because that'll put me in a position to garner more power, more money. And I can do it under the guise of I'm going to control the rent, or I'm going to give you grocery stores that are really, really cheap because it's funded by tax dollars.
My issue always goes back to this. When this is always ever tried, it all ends the same.
Every time.
And so there's always another socialist. And I know we'll have Neil Bortz join us here pretty soon. I know he hesitates to use the word communist, but now he's like, they're actually communists.
That's what they are.
That's what they really are. There's always another communist who wants to try communism. Over the course of history, since communism has come into play, no state religion has murdered more people. And yet, it always goes back to the same thing. Power, and we'll fix it for you. And then as soon as you become disillusioned, well, then we'll kill you.
Yeah. We'll take the responsibility away. You don't even have to worry about it. We're going to make it so good for you.
And so New York will be the next example.
Dude, it's so sad, though.
But you know how the story ends.
I do, which is why it's sad to me. It's so sad that dude, I'm not a New Yorker. I'm from Northwest Georgia, but I've been to New York a bunch of times. My wife's from, upstate New York. Going to New York's so much fun. Neil, I know he's brought it up when he and his wife go on cruises. They've gotten to the point where they don't even get off the boat anymore to go into New York City. This is the greatest city in the world.
Every year, my wife was part of with a magazine she had worked at years ago, and what they would do is the Christmas display window judging, and they would do the whole industry write-up and the photography and everything else. And so every year she was down there. Here's the big old tree. Here's the ice skating rink.
Rockefeller Center.
Now it's turned into, I'm glad I don't do that anymore.
Isn't that awful?
It's wild. It's different. But it's a span of like 15 years.
But it's about to get worse.
Yeah.
It's going from as like now where people don't want to go. Your wife doesn't want to go. Neil doesn't want to go. I don't want to go. And it's about to get worse. That's so sad to me that New York is about to elect the dude that I see on your screen right now that's telling, and he's a good-looking dude. He's well-spoken.
They're always like this.
And they're always going to lie to you.
8 o'clock hour. Get into this in story time. They always look and sound like this.
The leadership of communism. About and just a little over an hour from now, just a little under 5 minutes from now, Neil Bortz, the talk master, the one and only, and he can only be heard on Extra 106.3.
Did you miss Neil Bortz?
I am shocked.
Don't worry. He's live anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Oh, that radio show.
Did traffic cause you to miss some of the Kimmer Show? Get it on the app.
It's all the kids talk about on Monday at school.
With anytime show replays from the Kimmer, Bortz, the Morning Extra, Clay and Buck, and so much more. Plus local headlines and breaking news. Grab the Extra 106.3 app now and start streaming.
Good morning, Atlanta. It's Los. Let's talk about True Prep because True Prep has some special things going on this upcoming weekend for Independence Day. First off, if you haven't been to True Prep, Kyle Parkway in Marietta, go check out all the equipment that they have. And especially when it comes to this week, you can go by on the website as well, trueprep.com/deals. They have a ton of deals going on set up for July 4th. But here's what is so different when you go to True Prep. Maybe you're interested in some of their equipment. Like I said, I love freeze-dried food, but maybe you're looking for home protection. Maybe you're looking for personal protection. Well, they do have firearms available at great prices as well as ammunition. But that's why I talk about full service. True Prep isn't just about selling you that equipment. They're also about teaching you about it. They have a firearms fundamentals first-time buyers class. That is going to be coming up with True Prep. These are the sort of things they do. This is part of what they're doing. By the way, that class is going to be on Sunday, July 13th. So what do? You make your way over to True Prep. You can go online, trueprep.com, or you can go to the store, again, Kyle Parkway in Marietta, and you can purchase that firearm that you've been thinking about. But not just that, sign up for the class. That's coming up on the 13th. So again, buy on the 4th, buy on the 5th. Hey, buy right around that time period. Then sign up for the class. It's going to be coming up on Sunday, July 13th over at True Prep. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow with True Prep.
When you enter the financial red zone, it's time to start rethinking your financial strategies and protecting what you've built. Coach Pete, what should we consider in the financial red zone?
As we enter that financial red zone, which is over age 50, we must have some money put aside that's going to give us a guaranteed lifetime income. Without income, you don't have a retirement. Now, you get your Social Security, so work on maximizing that, but then you've got money in 401ks, 403bs, TSPs, IRAs, anywhere you have money, and it's a nice lump sum. But we need to figure out how much income you can get from the lump sum you have that's guaranteed for life. That takes all the worry out of it in retirement. If you already know, you've already got the money put aside. You don't have to get a checkbook out. The money's already there. Just make sure it's in the right place to give you and your family that lifetime income you can never outlive.
For a comprehensive and customized retirement review, call Coach Pete's local trusted advisor, Craig Chandler of Chandler Wealth Management. 800-419-6164. 800-419-6164.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 3 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffers from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. We provide testosterone replacement therapy, the P-shot, and treatment for ED, PE, and Peyronie's disease. There's not just one therapy that can solve these complex issues. When you visit our clinic, you're going to see me. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. 404-777-1911. Total Body Therapy of Georgia. 404-777-1911. Online at tbtofga.com.
Securing America.
During an appearance Sunday on CBS's Face the Nation, Virginia Democratic Senator Mark Warner said this about Iran following the U.S. attack on Iran's nuclear sites.
What we don't know, for example, is Iran going to try to hit us on cyber?
Monday, the National Security Agency, FBI, and other federal cybersecurity officials issued a warning about the possibility of Iranian cyber attacks against critical U.S. infrastructure, including utilities. The warning indicated hackers who support Iran have already targeted U.S. banks, defense contractors, and energy providers since the military strikes, but have yet to cause major disruptions. Ransomware attacks were also mentioned as a possibility. The bulletin also stated the hackers view cybersecurity disruptions as a viable alternative to military responses.
We have set them back, but let's not pretend that they don't have any capabilities.
Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Tuesday, July 1st. Over 100 new laws go into effect today in Georgia, including the Riley-Gaines Act that bars trans athletes from competing against the opposite sex in grades K through 12. Other new laws include a Georgia state tax cut, a ban on cell phones for students in class up to 8th grade, and if you're a hunter, pink is now an approved color alongside safety orange. Demolition began yesterday on the old Atlanta Medical Center with a large audience of former staff on site. Developers and city officials were there to declare it the beginning of the Boulevard Next project, which will include housing for teachers, police, firefighters, and nurses. Wellstar CEO Candace Saunders said healthcare services will also be part of the development in the future. Demolition is set to be completed by January 2026. Storms will continue through the early part of this week. Today, starting partly cloudy with storms possible this afternoon. Temperatures will reach the high 80s. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
Whoa, Nelly. It is time to talk to Neil Bortz, the Talk Master. The only place to get him is Extra 106.3. We're certainly glad to have him here on the Morning Extra. Neil, you got big plans for the 4th of July?
I got nothing.
Well, I mean, those are good plans too, actually.
Well, actually, it looks like it's going to be a weather blowout down here, but that's fine with me. I've got my beach view and I got my queen, so that's it. Oh, and from the home of Alligator Alcatraz, we got Alligator Alcatraz now.
Yeah, that's right. Trump visited too.
Yeah, he's coming. He's coming today. I already have the T-shirt.
Wait, I visited Alligator Alcatraz.
No, I got her now. Well, in fact, I ordered two. Ordered one for my son-in-law.
Oh, what?
They're going to come down and visit the end of the month, and I'm going to present him with this Alligator Alcatraz. I think it's just a marvelous idea.
Me too. It's brilliant.
You know, if one of those criminal aliens disappears, they're going to start disemboweling alligators to look for him.
Buddy, I tell you what, the only thing, Lo said it best yesterday, the only thing going to be surrounding you in there is something that wants to bite you or eat you or take you down.
Well, that's all of Florida.
That's all, yeah, right, exactly.
So, anyway, I like it. And of course, here come the Indians. That's sacred land. Have you ever seen a piece of dirt anywhere in the United States that the Indians won't call sacred land when something is happening that they don't like?
Isn't it all truly claimable?
Yes, it totally
by
is.
someone.
It totally is.
I mean, the phraseology that comes out, like Donna and I watch a lot of cop shows, okay? We watch Cops. We watch Live PD. I don't know why.
Wow.
You don't watch them?
PD? No, I don't watch any of that crap. No.
Oh, it's great. And
it's great.
It really. I watch tasing.
Okay, tasing. I kind of like the tasing.
He's highbrow. Neil Bortz is a highbrow TV viewer.
Turn the damn dog loose.
Dude, I will admit, there is nothing funnier than seeing a criminal with a canine on him.
Oh, I know.
It is funny.
I'm sorry. Ooh, ow. I love that. I love it. And, you know, there seems to be a rule. I don't know at what age they learn this. They certainly don't learn it from their fathers because these criminals they don't know their fathers. And whenever as soon as you get the cuffs on one of these thugs, what do they start screaming? I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. The cuffs aren't that tight, you jerk. And then it's, I know my rights. I know my rights.
And usually they don't. That's the thing that I've discovered.
Clearly you didn't know the law.
Yeah, right.
And then, of course, there's the standard, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's, what time is it? It's 8:30. You know what I'm saying?
Neil does have it down. He does watch all the shows.
This crosses the all lines. Young kids. I mean, every third word out of their mouth now is literally.
Right.
What are you doing? I'm literally going to the bathroom. What are you doing? I'm literally eating this corn dog. But, the language today, that's okay. That's me. I'll go now. Bye.
Well, no, Neil.
Oh, it's true, because my daughter, I always make it a point whenever she says literally, I will point it out to her. In the same way with my 10-year-old, Neil, for some reason, and this lasted for about 3 weeks until he broke her, everything started with, guess what? Neil, guess what? Like, if I asked every single question or made every single mistake with, Neil, guess what? Eventually you're going to be like, I'm not guessing.
I'm done with all
I'm
this.
done with the conversation. I'm not doing this anymore.
Literally. I mean, but this, know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? Yo, know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? No, I don't. And the double negatives make me crazy.
Neil turning into an English teacher.
No, I still want to go to a local high school just 1 hour out of every year and talk to those little rugrats, talk to them about what the Constitution does and doesn't do.
I think it's a good idea. I actually would be beneficial.
Well, I have props. I was in the Soviet Union one time when they were having a Comintern, a big meeting of the entire Soviet, and I got a flag that flew at that, and it's a gorgeous flag, all the Soviet republics and everything. I like to take it and hang it in the classroom and then tell these kids exactly what's going on. And then there's a big map that I bought in the Soviet Union of the United States, shows all our nuclear reactors.
Wow.
So yeah, I have the props.
No kidding. Didn't you say you had a piece of the Berlin Wall? Was it you that told us that?
No, I don't. I have my granddaughter once asked me for a moon rock.
Okay.
But the best I could do for public consumption, the best I could do was to get her a meteorite.
Okay. Where'd you come up with that?
There's a shop in Vail, Colorado, where you can actually buy meteorites. I bet you could go online and get a meteorite too.
Well, who would have thought? I wouldn't have guessed.
I've had one since kindergarten.
I do remember you saying that. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, earlier.
Tug's wearing an Apple Watch.
Yeah, he is. I like that you're kind of stalking us in the morning. There's a little bit of voyeur aspect to it, but it's funny that when you can say, hey, why do you have your feet on the table? I have to apologize.
You got no manners.
The teacher got me.
Los has some sort of sea creature on his hat.
It's a ram. It's actually a ram.
But I noticed the labels aren't still there.
No, I take those off. I'm not one of those guys.
Okay. Well, I mentioned the Apple Watch because mine went nuts 2 weeks ago.
You know what, Neil? I told my wife, I was like, when this one dies and it's on its way, I was like, don't give me another one. I don't want another one. I'm going back to a Timex, just something super basic.
Well, I'm telling you, there is a chance. There is a chance, and I'm going to know more by the end of that my Apple Watch may have saved my butt.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
In what way?
Well, because all of a sudden, everything happened after my last birthday. All of a sudden, it started saying AFib, AFib, AFib.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and I never feel anything. I'm sitting there watching TV. Look down at my Apple Watch, AFib, and I go to the app on my phone. Yep, there it is. And so anyway, I have a cardiologist appointment on Friday.
And all based on your Apple Watch.
It came off the Apple Watch, yeah.
I guess so. Look, that's the thing. It's a give and take with technology. It's what it is.
I would say 90% of the time, this is convenient, this is helpful, this will work for me, but there is just a trade-off with it.
Buddy, your privacy is the trade-off. And let me tell you, if you have a smart speaker in your house, it's listening to you, and it's recording everything. Even when, and they say, well, you can go in the settings and turn it all off, and then it won't record. I don't believe that. For one second, I don't believe that.
Yeah, you say that, and logically I believe it, but I did disconnect whatever this little thing over here is. Looks like a hockey puck.
Oh, yeah.
Like the
Amazon
dots?
Echo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I did disconnect that. So, but anyway, on the Apple Watch, what I did was that you can do an EKG on your Apple Watch. Did you know that?
I don't think mine's updated that much. I think mine's too old.
I did one, and I sent it to my doctor.
Okay.
And he said, okay, you need to come in.
Well,
yeah.
Well, then that's helpful.
Absolutely, there's a benefit there, but the privacy aspect, and my wife is convinced that it doesn't matter. She's like, they know everything anyway; it doesn't matter. And I'm just like, I don't think giving up is the right answer.
No, I'm not.
We're giving up your privacy. Completely giving up your privacy is the right answer, Los.
I just don't know how much of it. But you know what? All my secrets couldn't sell one tabloid page.
Well, but most of it is based on what to try and sell you.
That's right.
And if you're not, like for me.
Well, that is, why do I get 30 messages a day about chair exercises for senior citizens?
It's because you've brought it up and your phone is listening to you, and so then it markets everything to you for that.
Well, I guess. So,
I tell you what, Neil, let's do a test. This week, tell the Queen at some point about a particular set of golf clubs you want. And wait to see how long it takes for them to show up on banner ads whenever you go online.
Oh, if that happens, I'm going to get a Timex.
But Neil, it's happened to me a dozen times. It's happened to my wife so many times. And even my kid is now noticing it. He'll be like, yeah, me and whoever, we're talking about a new model of baseball bat. They have, this torpedo. Is it called torpedo?
Torpedo bat, yeah.
And a friend of his is a minor league baseball player and has one and has an endorsement. Guess what showed up in his banner ad feeds? A torpedo baseball bat. And it was like 2 days later.
So, if that was true, why aren't I getting ads all day for sex toys?
Maybe you have a filter on. I don't know.
Maybe you have a little bit of protection.
Okay, I'm going to bring this up again. I don't know that you guys agree with me, but I did look at the Gallup poll. 36% of Democrats are not proud to be Americans. 100% of Americans are not proud we have those Democrats. But at any rate, I'm going to say it again. This is what upsets Democrats, liberals, progressives, that America is a meritocracy. They hate that. They hate it that you have to earn your way to a fulfilled life. You have to actually work, and that is exhibited in their yelling and screaming about Medicaid. Oh yeah, Trump wants to kill Medicaid. No, what he wants is for people who are able-bodied and don't have minor children and capable of getting out there and earning a living. He wants them to go to work and stop sucking off the taxpayers for their health care. And it's meritocracy. That's what bothers them so much about America. That's why they're so upset that Medicaid, some people might actually be told to go back to work. So, and not only that, but we're all living on stolen land.
Well, Neil, I want to ask you about this because I have a theory here, and I want to run it by the Talkmaster because I'm right there with you. The meritocracy is something that they're always going to deny, that they don't want any part of. But my theory is that after 25 years of just a victimhood mentality preached to them across television and all their media on a regular basis, that 36%, which has fallen from 87% 25 years ago, I think is a combination of the two. It's a victimhood mentality who don't even want to try and execute in the meritocracy.
Oh, because they're being picked on all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. But then, how do they come so damn close to electing presidents?
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Well,
Well, I mean, in any given national election, 50%. They got about 50% of the votes.
Oh, it's because I think they watch mainstream media and they're force-fed what they should think and what they should believe and who they should vote for. When 99% of the news media tells you to do one thing, and that Trump's, a dictator and Hitler and all these things. Some people are going to listen to that. Some people are going to believe it. If you say it over and over enough, it becomes true.
Sure.
And I guess that's the only reason I can come up with.
Don't ever forget the indoctrination purpose of government education.
Without a doubt. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned, I don't know, did you mention Kohlberger? I'm mentioning Kohlberger, whether you did or not. He's going to...
Los and I talked about it earlier, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to plead guilty. I think it's one of you that... No, it was the letter from a victim's family about he's still going to be able to talk, he's still going to be able to do it. You know, that just brought up something for me. Why in the world do we allow people on death row to have any contact at all with anybody outside of prison? The people that they killed don't have any contact with the people that they left behind. Prison, life imprisonment for a murderer without parole should mean you're going to go into your prison your entire life, your entire experience. All your relationships are going to be confined to that prison. You cannot be visited by family. The people you killed can't be visited by their family. You're not going to send letters. You're not going to receive letters. You're going to have no contact with the outside world, but we're not going to kill you. Now, I would love to see that when it comes to the death penalty.
Yeah. Well, look, they don't deserve the ability, like you said, to commute. They don't deserve to have relationships because they've taken, in this case, 4 other people's ability to have relationships. So I know exactly what you mean. And I've always struggled with the death penalty a little bit, going back and forth. I don't know. It's a faith thing, but I've always felt pretty strongly is if you don't believe that someone's life is as important as yours, then and you take one, then why is yours have any value? So believe me, I go back and forth.
Well, I would like the death penalty, but I would like to be like they put Musk in charge of Doge. I'd like to be put in charge of revising the death penalty, and it would be this way. First of all,
the death czar, Neil Boortz.
There would be an appeals court judge sitting on the bench during the entire trial. Okay, and that appeals court judge would have to certify that any further appeals were allowed after the death penalty. And then after that, the law would require that all appeals be exhausted and ruled upon within 30 days, and the execution would take place within 30 days after that. Plus, the prisoner would not be given the date of his execution. They would just show up and say, "Come on, pal, it's time." And finally, the murderer dies the same way his victims died.
Well, and I think that's what happens from state to state in terms of some states do allow the families to be part of that process in terms of reading statements to the court that will then help determine what the court's going to do.
Yeah, but I mean, if you bludgeon somebody with a tire iron, that's how you're going to die.
You got to go that way, too.
Yeah.
Look, I understand why you say eye for an eye. I get it. But I totally get it.
Well, it'd be the code of Talkmaster instead of Hammurabi.
There you go.
You'd be going a different road here.
I think Japan does it this way. I think they don't tell the condemned guy or gal, geisha, whatever. They don't tell them what day they're going to die. They just show up at their cell one morning and say, "It's time. Come on. No, you can leave that here. You're not going to need it anymore."
Goodness. Yeah, look, I think you'd probably get a lot of people that would be in support of that, especially with some of these heinous crimes, like the Kohlberger thing, and gosh, the things that have happened here in Georgia, out at the University of Georgia in Athens. That girl was killed by the illegal out there. I think you'd find a lot of support for that, especially right now. People are fed up, Neil.
Oh, they are. And by the way, on this defunding the police, I know you saw this study. I think it came out over the weekend, maybe yesterday, that in cities that did this defund the police nonsense, but then turned around and started putting the money back in the police departments, virtually all of them have now experienced a decline in homicides.
Imagine that.
How strange.
Yeah, how the hell did that
Putting
happen?
more money and more police officers out in the street actually works.
And listen, quit saying bad things about that Muzzy that's running for mayor of New York.
No, we're not going to be able to do that. He's and Neil, I get it. We referenced it yesterday. We brought it up earlier in the show. I understand why over the course of your career you were hesitant to call them communists, but this one's a real communist.
He is. He is. But I want him to win.
Me too. I want to see what he does to the place.
I do. New York has been the epicenter of so much of this sanctuary city, defund the police nonsense with some of their prosecutors, no bail, no cash bail, all this. I want them to suffer the consequences of their insanity over the years. And it will be a great lesson for other cities in this country. And they'll start looking. Look, I've told you before, when I retired, I told Donna, we're going to get an apartment in New York. We're going to go spend a month up there just to see what it's like. Hell, no, we're not going to do that.
Not a chance.
No. When my cruise docked in Brooklyn, stayed on the ship.
My only fear, Neil, because I understand they can get what they vote for. They're about to get it. The cancer spreads. That's what I'm fearful of.
Do you really think he can be elected?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes, I do.
You think Jews will vote for him? They love voting for Democrats.
I don't know who's going to vote for him, but it seems like that a whole lot of people are behind him.
The package is very smiley.
Oh, yeah.
It's very friendly looking. It's the epitome of what happens
He's
over
a good-looking
history.
guy.
It's Barack Obama all over again.
Yeah, and by the way, good-looking guy. The shooter in Idaho was a good-looking guy.
Yeah, I tell
Before
you.
the bullet hole in his head.
Yeah, you talking about the Koberger guy? Oh,
I'm talking about the guy that started the fire.
The fire. Oh, yeah. Gosh. That's the most heinous story. You don't talk about somebody that deserves to go down the way that they took somebody down? That guy.
Excuse me, sir. That's the anus story.
The what story?
The anus?
Anus?
Oh, you said heinous.
Heinous. No, I thought somebody called it an anus story.
No.
Wow.
Misunderstood there, boy.
Well, he never did make it to jail, so that's probably not true.
Neil Mortz is the talk master. Neil is the greatest when we get to talk to you. You know that? That is the highlight of the week.
I'm going back to bed.
God bless you.
I'm old. Screw this.
We'll see it.
Remember, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
That's exactly right. And Neil Mortz is the talk master. The only place you hear him is on Extra 1063 when we continue. You've heard of tax-free weekends before school goes back. Now introducing the 2A, the Second Amendment tax-free weekend. Next on Extra.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan and driven to Extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Tuesday, July 1st. The Atlanta Braves are back in action. After an off day yesterday, the Los Angeles Angels are at Truist Park to open up a 3-game series. It'll be Didier Fuentes on the mound for the Braves. Tyler Anderson gets the ball for the Angels tonight at Truist Park. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can listen to the game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. The Atlanta Hawks have continued to make moves with their offseason. They've agreed to a sign and trade deal with Nikhil Alexander-Walker. He comes over from the Minnesota Timberwolves in exchange for a draft pick. He also receives a 4-year deal for $62 million. The shooting guard was one of the best defensive players on the market. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Your Atlanta Braves are celebrating family, freedom, and fun during Independence Week, July 1st through the 6th, when the Angels and Orioles come to Truist Park. Tickets and parking start at just $10. And don't miss the epic fireworks show on July 4th. Plus, fans can enjoy Americana-themed music and activations all week long, like pregame parades with high fives from the players and meet and greets with real bald eagles. And if you're looking for some new merch, check out the Braves Outlet Store inside Truist Park to score some major deals. Fans can enjoy any of these games during the week with the T-Mobile Summer Steal deal. With the Summer Steal, you can choose from one of 3 seating locations for any regular season game, weekends included, and receive a ticket, snack, and a drink for as low as $30. Or if you prefer something different, you can choose any menu item up to $12. Visit Braves.com/steal to purchase your tickets today. Atlanta Braves Baseball. We are Braves country.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. Okay, you're driving along. Suddenly you hear that horrible sound of metal and crunching. It's an accident. Even if it's a little minor fender bender, man, that could be a nightmare. First, obviously, take care of yourself. But before you make a deal with an insurance company or anybody else, call David Van Sant with Van Sant Law. You know why? Because he used to work for the insurance company, so he knows how to get the right settlement and right away. Van Sant Law. Don't forget, if you don't get paid, they don't get paid. Protecting your interests. Insurance is great, but it's complicated. 855-GA-INJURY or vansantlaw.com.
Hey, this is John Flading from ATL Turfco. We're a family-owned and operated independent local company here in the Atlanta area. We've been in business for over 15 years. We install several different types of artificial grass. One is landscape, which looks like real grass for your lawn. The next one is pet turf. Pet turf is a little bit shorter than landscape, and it's more durable. And the other one is putting greens. If you can dream it, we can build it. Just go to atlturfco.com to schedule an appointment.
A golf instructor who knows technique can improve an aspiring pro's swing. But one who really cares can help transform a career.
There he is, your new champion.
When you team up with someone who knows a lot and cares even more, you're unstoppable. At Truist, we believe the same is true for banking. Truist, leaders in banking, unwavering in care. Truist Bank, member FDIC, leading based on top 10 U.S. commercial bank.
It's July 1st, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National U.S. Postage Stamp Day. The United States issued the first postage stamp on this day in 1847. Prior to that, mail did not need a stamp to be sent. It would have been paid for by the person who received the letter. Ben Franklin and our first president, George Washington, were the only two faces to appear on stamps until 1856, and Washington has appeared on the stamp more than any other person. Also on this date, in 1873, Henry O. Flipper entered the West Point Military Academy, becoming the first African-American to be appointed to the institution. He would go on to graduate and serve his country, eventually earning the rank of lieutenant before being dishonorably discharged under suspicious circumstances. After years of working to clear his name and reputation, the Army would eventually grant him an honorable discharge, and in 1999, former President Bill Clinton granted him a full pardon. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
The Morning Xtra on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Xtra and Extra 106.3. I don't know if you caught the last little bit of what Neil Bortz was talking about, but I wanted you to hear it just in case you missed any of it. Listen to this.
The shooter in Idaho was a good-looking guy.
Yeah, I tell you.
Before the bullet hole in his head.
Yeah, you talking about the Koberger guy? Oh,
I'm talking about the guy that started the fire.
The fire. Oh, yeah. Gosh. That's the most heinous story. You don't talk about somebody that deserves to go down the way that they took somebody down? That guy.
Excuse me, sir. That's the anus story.
The what story?
The anus?
Anus?
Oh, you said heinous.
Anus. No, I thought somebody called it an anus. Wow.
Misunderstood there, boy.
Well, he never...
Sorry, I'm just always waiting.
And Neil always he always just hook, line, and sinker, dude. Anus? Question mark?
Yeah, such a heinous story.
Yeah.
It's like, anus? Maybe I misheard.
I don't know why it's so funny, but it is.
Because we're like 12-year-olds.
Right. No.
All of us. In every man, and ladies, you know this too. In every man, there is a 12-year-old boy who will laugh at farts and certain jokes.
Farts
are funny. Every time.
Every time. There's a story out of England. There's a guy that he was a police officer, went up to a female coworker, female police officer, and hit her with a pull my finger, and she wouldn't do it. She'd have none of it. And he turned around and farted in her face. Now he's getting fired.
We probably should. There has to be a level of professional decorum, but...
Assault with a deadly weapon.
It was, but I mean, when I read the story, I was like, of course she didn't participate.
No.
What woman would? Only dudes do that. Pull my finger is always a dude joke. I don't know that there's ever an exception.
I have the best man for my wedding. This man, John Onaker. Good dude. Love John. John, reinvented the game back when we were, late high school, early college years. And then I started getting all of my friends involved. He would make a noise like he hurt himself before he would fart. So you would hear, oh, and then Just imagine what that sounds like. Oh my God. And so that was him reinventing the entire game. The pull my finger thing went way out the window.
Dude, that's nice, dude.
And so he would randomly have dudes on my ball club doing that stuff.
I feel left out that I didn't get to participate in that because that's genius.
So
that's pure genius.
I would like for you to go home with your lovely wife, and at some point this evening, if this occurred,
did you hurt your back?
It's like you hurt your back.
Step on a mouse?
Ow! I'm sorry. We're off the rails, but
wow. Well, we made it to almost the 8 o'clock.
That's right. Exactly. Before things just jumped off the
This is why when we talk about Neil being one of the highlights of our week,
always,
it's because first off, he's a legend. Second off, it's wonderful to talk with him. But it always puts us in a mood where we're like, all right, we're ready to finish out.
Dude, we're ready to tackle the day.
Anus?
I don't know why it's so funny, but it's so funny. Well, Los explained it, actually. I do know why, because we're all 12-year-olds, and that's not going to change. So if you can tolerate 12-year-old humor once in a while, maybe once a week, then this is the show for you.
This is perfect for you. You're not getting this from anyone else.
No. It's serious.
No one's giving you the secret sauce on how to make everyone laugh in your home. Don't do it at work. Certainly don't do it with a coworker, especially if you're a police officer.
That's right.
But if you happen to be in that car and it's just you and like a partner or somebody you work with regularly.
Dude, hit them with that.
Oh, God.
I'm telling you, I just want to see it come down one time. You know, just here in the office when it's not supposed to, like in a meeting or something. You know, like the worst possible timing. I mean, I don't want to do it myself, but I want to see somebody do it. I really do, and hopefully I will. I got my fingers crossed.
My back.
Oh, my back. It's so dumb and so glorious. At the
You
exact
still blame the dog.
And that's right. Good Lord. I do that all the time. Blame the dog. Who doesn't do that occasionally? All right. 7 o'clock hour is brought to you by Van Sant Law Group. If you're in an accident, make the right call. VanSantLaw.com. When we come back, they told you illegals weren't able to vote, and they lied to you. Next on Extra.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
John Cusack, actor, Hollywood, Wall Street, Hot Tub, Time Machine, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. John Cusack says that Iran should get a nuclear weapon. Why? To keep the United States from bombing every country in the Middle East. He's insane, but he's a liberal. But I'm being redundant here. He is a liberal. He is insane. Liberals are insane. Issues and Insets magazine, they reported on a little study last week. 9 out of 10 conservatives self-report that their mental health is excellent. Only 2 out of 10 liberals say that they're perfectly sane. 19% of conservatives say their mental health is poor. 45% of liberals say their mental health is poor. Hell, they can't even tell you what a woman is. 10 years ago, research by the University of Toronto found that conservatives are more emotionally stable than liberals. Here's a quote from that study. Democrats, progressives, socialists, anti-capitalist, and the rest who reside under the leftist umbrella are unhappy, and they want everybody else to be just as miserable as they are. Now, I, on the other hand, identify as a libertarian. You want to talk about bat guano crazy libertarians. We dress up as stuffed animals for our national convention. And a few decades ago, they actually approached me about running for president on the libertarian ticket. Now that's nuts. Nothing further to say. from the home of Alligator Alcatraz, this is Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
This is Fox on Justice. We're following a massive human trafficking sting out of Florida. Authorities arrested more than 250 people. The operation is called Fool Around and Find Out. Focused on busting prostitution, those arrested came from all walks of life, including a doctor, active military, a Red Cross employee. The list goes on and on, according to the Polk County Sheriff's Office, who says during the 9-day multi-agency investigation, officials went undercover to tackle human trafficking, child predators, and illegal immigration. Among those arrested was former NFL linebacker Darius Taylor, who played 7 years in the league for the Buccaneers, Panthers, and Browns. During the sting operation, more than 30 were found to be in the country illegally, and out of the 255 arrested, 22 admitted they were receiving government assistance at the time of their arrest. The sheriff's office says they rescued 4 victims of human trafficking, individuals authorities believed were being exploited or coerced. I'm Dana Marie McNichol, Fox News.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
A new Senate record. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. There have now been at least 45 votes on proposed amendments to the Republicans' big tax and spending bill, a voter-rama that started 23 and a half hours ago. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on Fox and Friends.
I was just in touch with leadership up on the Hill, and I can tell you we are moving toward a vote today.
Fox's Aisha Hosni at the Capitol.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune does not currently have the votes to pass President Trump's big, beautiful bill, although the White House has now sent in Vice President J.D. Vance, and he's here not so much as a tie-breaking vote. Probably more likely he's here to try to negotiate, use his relationships with these senators to try to bring them across the finish line. You have two hard-nosed, Rand Paul and Thom Tillis. We have heard in the overnight hours that there were some efforts to try to flip Rand Paul by reducing the debt ceiling increase. That was something that he was pretty unhappy about, the debt ceiling being attached to this big, beautiful bill.
With no support from Democrats, no more than 3 Republicans can vote no for the bill to pass. President Trump will be in Florida today to see a new immigration detention facility in the Everglades.
The detention center is set on the Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport. Alligator Alcatraz will have 5,000 beds. The state says the site will cost $450 million a year to operate, which will be reimbursed by FEMA. Over the weekend, protesters lined up along Highway 41, which runs through the Everglades. Environmental activists have a federal lawsuit saying state and federal agencies did not follow environmental and land use laws. Assistant DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin is calling the lawsuit lazy, saying the land has been developed for more than a decade.
Fox's Madeline Rivera in D.C. It's day 2 of deliberations at the Sean Diddy Combs sex crimes trial in New York. Jurors so far have a question about the definition of drug distribution and want guidance about one juror alleged to not be able to follow the court's instructions. America's listening to Fox News.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Michaela's Mobile Spa, Michaela! Michaela got a quick business insurance quote from Progressive and chose from over 30 customizable coverages. Sure, it helps she's her only employee and does literally everything. But while others would rest on their laurels, Michaela was hard at work saving big. So take that, hypothetical other employee who doesn't exist. Be your own Michaela. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Can't afford to fill your grocery bags or gas tank? Fill your day with the best conservative talk for free by downloading the Extra 106.3 app wherever you download your apps.
Woo-woo! Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. Glad that you're here halfway through the show. And it's gone by incredibly fast. I mean, we've had such good discussions this morning with Neil Bortz. We've had such good discussions about just the proud to be American, the Gallup poll that came out.
Gallup poll is pretty surprising. Those numbers of having nearly 90% of Democrats in 2001, that's now fallen to 36%. that will feel that when it comes to being identified as American, that they either prefer it or take pride in it.
Yeah,
is basically what it comes down to.
Only 36% of them take pride in being an American. That is jarring. That is absurd. It's ridiculous. And I think that's the root cause of all their problems.
Yeah,
right there.
Extremely proud to be an American. And that's one of those that if I had a pollster in front of me ask the question, I'd be like, hell yeah.
Of course.
Now, does it mean that I agree with my government all the time? No. In fact, I'm pretty at odds with my government on a regular basis if you listen to the show.
The idea
like the most American thing you can do.
Right,
exactly.
Right, exactly. You're right. That's exactly right. And that's the thing. America is this wonderful idea and this wonderful way of governing. People ruin it. People ruin everything. They let money and power corrupt. It doesn't change the excellence of the idea of America. Just because I'm let down by them, the flag didn't do it. It's the root of all evil is people and money and power.
You've pointed out some of the stuff that you do not care for in terms of stuff you'll see on cars, stuff you'll see on homes, and I'm with you there.
It just breaks my heart. I think that's the most.
I get that. When you see somebody flying a Hamas flag from their vacation home in Florida, you're like, I don't think you really get how this works, or maybe you're just so enlightened that you feel like it's what you're able to do. And again, you have a right to do it.
Of course you do.
This is what I think is part of the miracle that is America. It's constantly, every day, a competition of ideas.
Yeah.
And who's going to win? Who can articulate those ideas? Who can express their ideas in ways that other Americans say, I'm on board with that idea? That's really the spirit of what goes on. That as our society changes, we have ways that when we have different ideas to change our own country. That's the brilliance of the Constitution. And that's the reason why it was so important to have an idea like America that then spawned freedom for the modern world.
It certainly is.
Because you hadn't seen it since basically Roman Republic days.
And think about this when it comes to where we are in 2025 with Donald Trump as the president. The idea that Donald Trump could even be elected president is amazing. He is a guy that had people coming after him saying that he was, Satan incarnate. He was the devil himself. But his ideas, he wouldn't fall for that. He didn't succumb to that because based on merit, based on what he was able to do and present, his ideas cut through even the most horrible coverage that he got. He was able to say, to your point, articulate, this is what I want to do with America and for America.
From the moment he came down the escalator and announced he was running for president, the first thing most of us thought, and let's be very truthful.
Oh, man, me included.
This is a joke.
There's no way.
This is a reality TV star doing a reality TV bit. It wasn't until, and I remember the talk shows, buzzing about what he said. So he talked about, we have a problem when it comes to who is in this country. We need a wall. We need to get our borders secured. We need to work on America as a whole. He was already preaching. That was the starting point, the starting roots of American nationalism. And within 1 week, the polling data had changed where suddenly he was damn near the front runner in a field of 14 Republicans because his ideas and the things he said. The media tried to paint it as building a wall, that's racist. It's no, it just makes sense when it comes to security.
Ask Egypt. Ask plenty of countries around the world.
Ask anyone with wealth who has a wall. They do work.
That's right.
They're pretty good.
When you see those very, very nice neighborhoods that have the gated entrance, there's a reason for that.
I wonder why it's gated. It adds another layer of security, which shows another level of protection and wealth. This is as you said, the competition of ideas. His were just better than when it came to Kamala Harris, who didn't have any.
And funny enough that his ideas were so good and have been so good, I don't know that he's the most articulate man in the world.
No.
Because he's rough around there, he's gruff.
Yeah.
He's all those things. But his ideas are so good that even when he explains them in his gruff way, people are like, you know what? That kind of makes sense.
I think he knows how to speak regular guy.
Yeah, that's right.
For a billionaire.
Which they hate in D.C.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. They don't like
when you
everyday
can
Americans.
just speak, and you should give the credit. We've talked about it in the past. His father making him go to job sites and work, I think, is what ends up being that difference of the guy can talk to regular people. Like one of the things that I was seeing from the Tucker Carlson interview that he had with RFK Jr. They asked him, like, what was the surprising aspect of meeting Donald Trump?
This is the best lines.
He talked about his empathy. He's like, narcissists don't have empathy. He's like, the guy is constantly concerned about others and concerned about his country and concerned about you. It's like a narcissist does not do that. His empathy, I think, is what comes through when he gets out on the campaign trail and talks with regular people.
He genuinely cares about people. That's what I took away, is that he cares about people and he cares about the country. I've always thought he cared about the country. But RFK, seeing him in a different light, seeing him and working with him every day has opened his eyes even to the things that nobody would ever report on. That's never coming out on CNN.
Well, let's point it out. Bill Maher, in visiting with him, was shocked that he was asking Bill Maher's opinion about different political situations. RFK Jr., the most prevalent and prominent of the Kennedys that is left, all right? A historic, iconic name in the Democrat Party. He's the one telling you about how this guy has empathy and the rest of the party that he used to be part of does not share that.
He said, you'll notice whenever he talks about the Ukraine war, he always talks about casualties on both sides. Every time he talks about that. Because he genuinely cares about people being slaughtered. You got the Ukrainians right now, like their whole push, and I'm sure you've seen it, Los, is that they're using grandparents as soldiers.
Yes.
Because they're trying to salvage they don't have that many young people anymore.
No,
because they've been put through the meat grinder.
The young people have gone through the grinder. The ones that stayed, they've been conscripted and put in the grinder.
Now they're using grandparents to save what few young people are there to hopefully continue to populate the country. And then the flip side is the Russians, all they're using is people from jail. And they got plenty of people in jail. The crazy thing is the articles that I've been reading are saying, with these people, you coming out of jail is not like you're loaded. But they're using what little money they have to be able to pay off the people that they're serving under to not have to run in on a suicide attack, because that's basically all they're using at this point. So
given that Donald Trump gets that kind of intelligence every single morning and you hear about his empathy for it, because he recognizes this is a bad situation for everyone involved. Now, I'm going to set you up for this, because we talk about winning in the area of ideas. Man, what Stephen Miller was throwing out there yesterday. You want to talk about new ideas or new plans, or now that this nationwide injunctions are over with?
Dude.
Here's what's coming.
Yeah. Remember when they told you, no, illegals don't vote? Of course they don't. And I remember my Aunt Peg. We're sitting in Charleston, South Carolina at a lunch table. And she said, well, how in the world would illegals get a Social Security card? How would they get a check from Social Security? They're not citizens. Like, yeah, I know.
I didn't stop anybody.
Listen to this.
There's no citizenship verification to vote in American elections. Very few people realize this. If you ask for it, you get a form, and it says, are you a citizen, yes or no? If you check the yes box, that is it. Every state that has tried to validate that, and the federal government does zero validation, has been blocked successfully in court, now going on for more than 20 years. This is a true statement without exaggeration. There's not a single state in this country where illegal aliens cannot vote simply by checking a box. And as you can imagine, the potential for massive fraud there is increased exponentially with mass mail-in voting. So if even a small percentage of Biden's illegal aliens fill out mail-in ballots, fill out ballots that go into the drop boxes, etc., that would be outcome determinative in races up and down the ballot. Now, all it would take to stop this would be for the House to attach to a must-pass bill legislation requiring citizenship verification to vote in 2024. As soon as they have the power and ability to do so, they would pass a law making all illegal aliens into full voting citizens.
That is the plan. It's always been the plan. How do we use illegals coming to this country to vote and keep us in power, keep us in office. And I was told every day, no, they don't vote. No, they're not able to get Social Security. And Stephen Miller is saying, yes, it is really, really simple.
So let's point out the first part. The first part is that states run their own elections. This is not like you can pass a federal law and then here's how it's going to be. The states are the ones who run their elections and certify their elections before it heads to D.C. So then what do you do from here? You strip away at the power that does exist. So, for instance, as we're talking about making it a point that illegals cannot vote, you start to really make that big push. And maybe that means more voter ID. Whatever it is, that's not racist. That's not all the little things that they come with what it is. It's not. In fact, Kamala Harris only won states where there is no ID that was required. And the next thing you do, you take away illegals from the next census and watch how stuff changes.
And that's where Marjorie Taylor Greene is connecting with Donald Trump. She told him that she's going to introduce a bill that'll save America's elections from ever being stolen. The bill would require the U.S. Census Bureau to conduct a new census immediately upon enactment of the bill, and conducting a new census of U.S. population. It shall require questions determining citizenship of each individual and only count citizens. That is going to be detrimental to places like California.
Now, that's why I tell you the difference. In a state, obviously the state's going to run their election. When it comes to the census, that's federal. So this is a two-pronged attack. And let's face it, that's what it is. It's an attack on the Democrats. It's an attack on the communists and their power. Because you know what was happening for 4 years? They were attacking you by dumping as many illegals into the country. They were attacking your wages. They were attacking your ability to purchase property. They were attacking your ability to rent. They were attacking your ability to have what we always talk about within this country, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. They made it more difficult by dumping as many as 10 to 20 million people here. You were under attack. It's your turn to now fight back. And let's get this thing dirty. I'm ready to get in the pigs with this stuff.
You have to. That's the thing. There's no... And I wouldn't even call that dirty, though, dude. That's just doing what's right.
It's what do we have to do to verify when a census taker shows up at your door? What do we now have as federal law? That's the key here. What do you have to do in order to prove that you're a citizen? Now, that census taker, because I've filled out the census now a couple different times.
Yeah, me too.
If it required that I had to, show ID or enter a legal ID code, here's my driver's license. All right. Now we'll see the liberals start to do the whole, how do we get driver's licenses into all these illegals' hands? But there's going to have to be something you do to make it more difficult so that we stop counting illegals.
That's the thing, because they're already in California giving illegals driver's license, right? So they already have the license. They'll have the license number. It's not going to be easy.
Is it just a question? Maybe that ends up being what it is, which, again, because it's a census, if I do remember correctly, it is punishable if you lie on the census.
But you got to have somebody willing to do the punishment. And I think Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene's probably a good 1-2 tandem.
We'd be looking at hopefully a J.D. Vance administration.
Oh, by then.
They would have the right people that were looking to do this. And to put up that hand of God, the government hand of God that says, if you lie on this form, I'm spanking you. You're going to spend a few months in federal prison.
And isn't it funny? The Democrats who love government so much, all of a sudden don't love government that much.
Suddenly you're like, that's intrusive.
That's exactly right.
So my God.
So funny to see them doing that. I hope it happens. I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to get our arms around this, but I know it's going to be an incredibly difficult thing to do just because of the sheer amount of people that are here and the documents that liberal states are going to provide. And how do you work inside this chaos that they're building?
I wish that if I had some time with Stephen Miller, that if I went over to the White House and I got a chance to sit down with Stephen Miller, I would hope that right behind him, he'd be like right behind his desk, would be like a giant whiteboard. It'd be covered up, right? And he'd pull down on the shade of it and he'd bring it up and suddenly the whole whiteboard's exposed. And there would be 8 different attack lines of what they're doing to strip away the Democrats' power and of what happened in this country from January 21 all the way until 24.
Like World War II battle plans.
Here's all the ways that we're attacking this. This one we're hitting them in the court. This one we're hitting them over at the ballot box. This one we're going to use Marjorie Taylor Greene. This one we're going to use, and every single one of them. About the only issue that we have that's going on, Marjorie Taylor Greene is the wrong vessel for this. It's the right message, wrong vessel.
I get that.
I need somebody a little. If it was me, okay, we got a winner here. They look at her as like that crazy white lady from Georgia.
Well, but they look at Trump the same way.
I know, I get it. But what I'm telling you is that what is happening, part of what I think is happening is when you have like an attack on Big Pharma, the attack on Big Pharma is coming from a former Democrat. Couldn't be more on board with Big Pharma. When you hear about border security and it's coming from Marco Rubio, that's a guy from Florida where they've dealt with some of this. I'm like saying it's about who's delivering the message.
Yeah, and she is a lightning bolt, and I get that. I do get it. And
well, she's my spirit animal.
No, I know that.
I love the
No,
lady.
I know you do. I know you. But you know when she's the right person, when she's not. And I see that. I can totally understand that. And rarely will she be the right person because she ruffles so many feathers.
Listen, there's some aggressive stuff that she does that I'm all on board with. I mean, that woman had the audacity, and I loved it, that she actually pulled out giant pictures of Hunter Biden and was like, "Is this your dong?"
Yeah, right. on the House floor. Yeah, this is so funny. And
is this you naked?
And the Democrats were melting down. How could you?
How dare you? How dare you?
That's right. Because somebody had to have the courage to do it. And let me tell you, we all knew that Hunter Biden was guilty of every bit of that. And still believe that he is, even though he'll never get punished for it because he has blanket immunity for the last 10 years. Somebody had to do it. She had the courage. She was the right person to deliver that message.
I'm going to need this to get over to MTG because a lot of y'all know her. You know that she checks out the show from time to time. She's been on plenty of times. Need her back on for this one.
Yeah, that'd be good. See what we can do, man. See what we can uncover. It'd be great to have her back on, for sure. 8 o'clock hour brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com. Get out your scratch paper, get out your number 2 pencils, and get ready to take notes. The leadership of communism. Next, during Story Time with Front Office Los.
Stream Atlanta's only conservative voice anywhere you go with the Extra 106.3 app. Now equipped with Apple CarPlay. That means you'll always have Extra's crystal clear HD stream right on your dashboard no matter where you are. Download the all-new Extra 106.3 app now and start streaming.
Hey, Atlanta, it's Front Office Los. Let's talk about True Prep, your store that you have right in your own backyard that is one of the best in the nation for preparedness. Now, for me, that means a lot of like freeze-dried food. I'm really into that. Maybe you're into camping. Maybe you're into being out on the trails. Water filtration, that's huge for you. But as we come up on July 4th, let's talk about security because True Prep, when it comes to their firearms and their ammunition, they are going to give you some of the best deals in town on their equipment. First off, you can go over to their deals page almost every single day. Right now, they have their Independence Day sale. They have specials on all sorts of different equipment. But it's not just about when you purchase that firearm, when you purchase that that ammunition. They also are looking to take care of you on the other end. You're like, Los, what does that mean? Well, coming up on July 13th, they have their firearm fundamentals for first-time buyers. Maybe you've been pondering it's time to add that little bit of extra security to your home or to your person. This is the opportunity where you can go to True Prep, you can make that purchase, and you can also sign up for the class. Again, coming up on Sunday, July 13th, it is going to be over at True Prep. It's about the fundamentals. So let's face it, if you're going to be a gun owner, let's be a responsible one. Know what you're doing with that firearm, especially if it is your first time. Go to TruePrep.com. That's TRUPrep.com. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow with True Prep.
Hey, Atlanta's Mark from the Safe House. I have a question for you. Am I the only person pissed off with the mainstream fake news, liberal judges,
and whiny liberal politicians
who don't realize why Donald Trump is president, and fake safes? And you may wonder, why fake safes? Well, a fake safe is like Joe Biden, cheap and ineffective. A real safe from Atlanta Safe House is like Donald Trump, tough, effective, and provides peace of mind when you need it the most. So drop by Atlanta Safe House and check out the largest selection of safes in the Southeast and see what a real safe looks like. So go to AtlantaSafehouse.com.
warrioralliance.com. My name is Patrick, and I'm the Military Outreach Manager at the Warrior Alliance. I served in the U.S. Army as an airborne ranger and deployed to several combat zones in support of the global war on terror. Veterans bring excellence through our work ethic, skills, and civic duty. However, transitioning to civilian life can be difficult, as we all share a loss of purpose when leaving the military. Returning veterans have earned and deserve our support so they can thrive on their journey home. The Warrior Alliance understands the challenge and is helping warriors navigate to success after service. Join us in changing thousands of lives for the better. Donate today at thewarrioralliance.org.
Retail Management Services Corporation seeks an e-commerce back-end software developer in Atlanta, Georgia to develop high-performance applications. The position requires a bachelor's degree or foreign equivalent in computer science or related, plus 5 years of experience in software development or software engineering. Alternatively, the employer will accept a master's degree and 2 years of experience as stated. The position is hybrid remote. To apply, submit resume to bzupa@roomstogo.com.
Fox on Tech.
An hour per day on a particular social media app for children under age 16 in Virginia. Governor Glenn Youngkin also signed a separate law banning student phone use during school hours. Youngkin argues unrestricted cell phone and social media use hurt students.
Cell phone use went up, mental health challenges went up, disruption and disorderly conduct went up, academic performance went down, and relationships suffered.
A recent Journal of the American Medical Association study of 12,000 children found more social media use in early adolescence predicted higher depression symptoms a year later. Wes Hodges from the Heritage Foundation says there is no motivation for social media platforms to restrict young consumers.
They want to have as many minutes with your children as possible.
With Fox on Tech, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Tuesday, July 1st. Over 100 new laws go into effect today in Georgia, including the Riley Gaines Act that bars trans athletes from competing against the opposite sex in grades K through 12. Other new laws include a Georgia state tax cut, a ban on cell phones for students in class up to 8th grade, and if you're a hunter, pink is now an approved color alongside safety orange. Demolition began yesterday on the old Atlanta Medical Center with a large audience of former staff on site. Developers and city officials were there to declare it the beginning of the Boulevard Next project, which will include housing for teachers, police, firefighters, and nurses. Wellstar CEO Candace Saunders said healthcare services will also be part of the development in the future. Demolition is set to be completed by January 2026. Storms will continue through the early part of this week. Today, starting partly cloudy with storms possible this afternoon. Temperatures will reach the high 80s. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
8 o'clock hour brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier expert. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com. When I was younger, I don't know, oftentimes pay attention or take notes in class. And today, I regret it. So don't fall into that category. If you were like me then, get out your notebook now. That way you can learn with Front Office Los during story time.
Settle in and get comfortable, folks. It's story time with Uncle Los.
Thank you, America. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you to Tug. America. Your company name right here when it comes to sponsoring story time, which I think we're getting closer to.
I like it.
We'll see what happens. So I want to give you a term, and then let's talk about what occurs when it comes to the powers that be when it comes to the Communist Party. So there's a term, and it really actually came out of the United Kingdom, called champagne socialist. Like, what is that? What is a champagne socialist? Well, it's a derogatory term. We'll start right there. You can go to Grok, actually. Grok's a fun one because you can always search this on Google, but Grok, I thought, did a really cool job of it. It says a champagne socialist is a derogatory term for someone who claims to support socialist or progressive ideals like wealth redistribution or social equality while living a luxurious, privileged lifestyle that seems to contradict those beliefs. You go, well, that's pretty interesting. You talk about the common man, but
people.
You're Bernie Sanders with your 3 or 4 homes, right?
Of course I have 3 or 4 homes. I'm a senator.
I'm a senator. That's not bad, actually. That's pretty good.
Once in a while.
Once in a while, he just nails it. He doesn't do a lot of these, so when he does, though, they're excellent. So I want to give you the background on some of these people. Because, like, for instance, there was a man born, and this was years ago, and he was born in 1925. And what was recognized by the people around him was like, well, you know what? For comparison to the rest of the region, he's kind of light-skinned. And when it came to who he was born to, his family was very prosperous. In fact, they sent him to some of the most elite schools that they have in their area. Now, I'll just tell you, this person, their dad owned 22 acres of rice land. They also owned cattle, which in that area of the world, was pretty rare. Like, you got to be pretty rich to do that. In fact, one of the things that they were known for is that when it came to harvest time, they didn't harvest. They would bring in other villagers, other people, because they had one of the biggest homes, and those were the people that would harvest the rice. This was Pol Pot, who would go on to be a Cambodian dictator and be responsible for 2 million dead in Cambodian genocide. Now, Pol Pot, he ended up, he ends up in Cambodia, and he's going to school. He then ends up in France, joins the French Communist Party in 1951, and now everything is off and running. And that's who he was. I'll tell you about somebody else. There was somebody else who was born to a very rich Spanish farmer. And yet, when it came to their financial success, they were actually sugarcane growers. They were able to afford to send this person to some of the nicer universities, including the University of Havana. Now, at this point in their life, they were responsible for about 11,000 dead. It was Fidel Castro, who ended up turning into the, I'm here for the people. I'm here for the revolution. It was a little bit different. How about this person? The eldest of 5 children, grew up in an upper-class family in Argentina. Now, when it came to how they had their money, they were landowners. They were landowners not just in Argentina, but colonial California. Like, they were old school money. And in their home, it was noted, they had over 3,000 books in their home. Now, I think that my wife and I are pretty avid readers. How many books do you think you have in your house? Because maybe we have like 80 or 100. Maybe.
I was going to say 100. That was going to be, that's about the number. Because we got a big bookshelf, and
you got to have some luxury to have 3,000 books.
Yeah.
All right. Other than that, or you're just, you're a hoarder. I mean, that's the opportunity. But 3,000 books in their home. And one of them included was a book about Karl Marx. This was Ernesto Che Guevara.
Oh, Lord.
That if you just think about what happened at the La Cabana prison, he was responsible for at least 600 political prisoners that were executed. All right? I'll give you one more person. This man actually basically lived off his family almost his entire life. And this man, when it came to financial support, he had some supporters that were basically taking care of him. He was largely unemployed. Now, every now and then he would write an article, do a little bit of work, put a little bit of money in his pocket. But he came from a well-to-do family, and so he was basically a freeloader his entire life. Who was that? It was Karl Marx. All right? So when you get around to, let's say, Mamdani in New York, or AOC, who claims, I'm here for the fight. I'm from the Bronx. No, you're as suburban as I was growing up.
Sandy Cortez from her yearbook in high school.
Sandy Cortez, as suburban as Carlos Medina, growing up in basically going to Castle Hills Elementary School. I don't even know if it's there anymore, but look it up. I mean, I didn't grow up in the hood. Neither did she. And Mamdani's mom is worth millions of dollars because of her work in Bollywood as a director.
And the dad's like a Columbia professor.
Yes, these are people worth money and from money. Yet they all do the same thing. Mamdani, I'm going to eat rice with my hands. You brought that up yesterday,
Tug.
Dude.
It looked so. It just looked fake to me. It looked like, hey, how do I look like I'm doing something without actually believing in what I'm doing?
How do I pretend to be a person of the people?
That's it. It's exactly what I was trying to say.
If you go through the history, like I was watching a documentary on the history of Cuba, and it's one person after the next that's like, I'm part of the people. No, you're just another rich landowner who then created a revolution in order to give yourself your own power. These people they end up believing their own myths.
See, but that was going to be my next question. Do you think they actually believe their own BS? I think after a while that they start to buy it.
Now, I will give you two names where it's completely different. First off, Mao Zedong, okay. Chairman Mao killed 50 million people, okay? Like the Chinese famine of the 1950s killed 50 million. That dude was from the sticks and firmly believed he was from the people. And also Joseph Stalin. Now, these are two like early people in communism. What has now occurred, just as we will see over the course of history, the next round of communists, they're never from the people. They're always the rich. They just recognize they get to use communism to secure the power. And Mao Zedong did it with Joseph Stalin did it with. Now it's been this run of people that are from money that use communism to secure power.
And it's, in my opinion, it's because it sounds so enticing for people listening, and they're like, "We're going to give you everything. Everything's taken care of. How wonderful is this?
If you just give me the power, if you'll just grab a rifle in my name, I'll fix it for you. In fact, I'll make it a utopia. In fact, what I'll do is I'll punish your enemies. Those people that have made sure that you don't have what you want, I'm going to take care of them. I'll tan that hide.
The ones that held you back, the ones that held you down.
The ones that didn't listen to you when you had all the best ideas, and now you're having to live paycheck to paycheck. You can't even get out of that one-bedroom apartment, but I'm going to fix it for you. And I'm going to get those dirty capitalists under control. I'm going to take their stores. I'm going to control the means of production. We'll have it all.
That sounds awful familiar.
And that's how it always goes.
Yeah.
Over the course of history. And so, yeah, part of what I wanted to do during this story time, and I felt like my brain was stolen from, because I did hear you had Jesse Kelly, who talked a little bit about Mom Donnie and his background, and I'm like, you better not do the rest of them, because I built an entire segment for tomorrow on the rest of them and what they were always about.
Jesse, you're towing the line.
But it is what it is.
No, you're right.
They come from money, and then they pretend to be part of the people, and they're always the one who, I'm going to lead the revolution, that just simply empowers them, allows them to kill their political opponents, and enriches themselves.
And it never changes. It's always the same. It repeats itself. History repeats itself over and over and over. That's why they can always say, follow me, I'll get it right. No one else has, but I will.
That's story time.
With Front Office Los, I hope you took good notes. I did. I know. I know what notes. A champagne socialist is now. I know that Pol Pot was born in 25, wealthy, 22 acres, rice and cattle. I know that Castro was born in Spain. He was a sugar farmer. I know that Che was the oldest of 5 in Argentina.
You did take notes.
Dude, I'm telling you.
They all go to some of the nicest universities. They all come from money for the most part. And then they all pretend to be common people.
Well, it's because it's relatable, right?
In the interest of communism. Like Donald Trump, first off, he's never pretended to be a commoner.
No,
He's like, look at all these buildings.
Aren't they great? My name is huge on the side.
Here's what I'm doing. Like, he's very flat out telling you what he's all about. J.D. Vance will tell you, I grew up as dirt poor as you can be, and I've built it up from there. I went to the right schools. I got into the right law firm. That screen, like, there's no making up the story. Whereas a guy like Mom Donnie in New York is trying to pretend like he's so incredibly common that, you know, he's just here for the fight. You know, I'm just a guy. I'm right there along with you.
I care about you.
I care about you because we both came from nothing.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is J.D. Vance did come from nothing and used merit to get where he is, and wants to create an environment with Donald Trump as the president that other people can do that. Because if you look at the majority of people that came up the way that J.D. Vance came up, I knew him in Dalton, Georgia, and I still see him in Dalton, Georgia. They're not going to leave Dalton, Georgia. It's not that they're bad. It's just that they're staying where they are. I refuse to do it. I remember when I told my daddy, I said, I'm not going to work in a carpet mill. He's like, what are you going to do? Like he couldn't see past this is what we do.
Right.
J.D. Vance was in that same position. He could have just sat down and accepted the chaos that was his family, but he didn't.
I'm thinking about a guy like Buddy Carter. He's going to be running for Senate. And Buddy, when he talks to us as a small business owner, as a guy who was a pharmacist, ran a pharmacy. And so he doesn't pretend to be that guy who, well, I came from the streets. I was brought up by the streets. It's like, no, I worked and then I owned a small business and I know what it is to employ people and have to make those deadlines. That's what's so different about what you're getting currently. The whole rage. You know, when I say rage, not anger, I mean like they're like raving about, man, we got this guy in New York and AOC is going to be she'll be our next representative. She'll be a great president. You can't even tell her origin story because it would damage the myth.
Right, because she was selected. She was selected to run for office. She was an actress.
Remember, they brought
that to the show.
They were doing like, hey, she's just a bartender who worked her way through school, and this is what she was able to become and show you. Here's the American dream. No, she was selected through a process. She's an actress. But that's how socialism and communism goes together. That's how it works. It's a myth. It's
always fake.
They've got to create their own legendary mythical figures.
And you know who else got duped by it for a little while? Joe Rogan. Remember, he was a Bernie pro.
Yeah.
And finally, you could see the wheels coming off the bus as he was talking to Bernie Sanders in one of the episodes.
That's another funny aspect. The amount of people, and largely it's a blue sky thing. Like, Rogan's done with Trump. I'm like, I listen to 4 hours on a regular basis. I'm like, okay, he started off one of his last episodes by joking around about having a fake snake on his desk and Trump having to sit there through it. And how he's like, did you explain it to him? He's like, no, he didn't ask. And so we just kept it rolling. He's laughing about their time together.
Sure.
It's like, sorry, that's not exactly what you think is happening. And by the way, Rogan isn't on anyone's side other than what's going to best benefit him as a voter, and that's still us.
That's right.
Because we have been the party of free speech. And that's all the entire comedy industry all cares about free speech.
And AOC has been vocal about limiting speech. How do we police it? She's talked about that in the last couple weeks. How do we police this the speech that's on social media? And I'm sure she's targeting Twitter specifically, but she's talked about limiting that.
So Dana Carvey was on a podcast over the weekend, and he talked about when it was time to make fun of Joe Biden and how he could and how he couldn't. And he brought up that, like, listen, this guy was going after, this is who he was as far as like your attacks on free speech. And so comedy took a while to come around to going after him. But once they did, Dana Carvey was like, it was kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. It was so easy.
Yeah. Comedy, man. It's what we'll say. Isn't it crazy to think that that's what saved America? I mean, being able to point out truth through laughter.
Certainly changed how young men were voting by getting a chance to check out Donald Trump on Rogan or Theo Vaughn or any of the other ones he was doing.
Or even Shane Gillis making fun of Donald Trump.
Shane Gillis making fun of Donald Trump, having fun with it.
It created, you want to talk about creating a legend. That created, like, those socialists, they try to create a myth. The comedy created a legend out of Donald Trump, especially when Shane Gillis talked about the way they took out, that Hamas leader. al-Baghdadi, yeah. And that press conference now, if you go back and look at it on YouTube, the amount of views it has is through the freaking roof, all because one comedian brought it up. I love it. When we continue on Extra 106.3, deporting the criminals isn't easy because of the sheer numbers of criminal illegals in America. Next on Extra.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to Extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Tuesday, July 1st. The Atlanta Braves are back in action. After an off day yesterday, the Los Angeles Angels are at Truist Park to open up a 3-game series. It'll be Didier Fuentes on the mound for the Braves. Tyler Anderson gets the ball for the Angels tonight at Truist Park. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can listen to the game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. The Atlanta Hawks have continued to make moves with their offseason. They've agreed to a sign and trade deal with Nikhil Alexander-Walker. He comes over from the Minnesota Timberwolves in exchange for a draft pick. He also receives a 4-year deal worth $62 million. The shooting guard was one of the best defensive players on the market. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Convenience is defined as the state of being able to proceed with something with little effort or difficulty. And at RBM of Atlanta, we embody this definition. Convenience is our middle name. Meet our Mercedes-Benz pickup and delivery service. It gives you back time and money. Does your Mercedes-Benz need service? If so, we'll pick up your vehicle that's requiring service from your home or office and bring it back to our dealership for those services. And once the services have been complete, we'll bring your Mercedes-Benz back to you. With over 100 appointments available every weekday, over 50 appointments on Saturdays, and more than 200 courtesy vehicles in our fleet, we're here to serve. We'll work around your schedule. We're here to save you time, energy, and money. RBM of Atlanta is a J.D. Power 2025 Diamond Dealer of Excellence for the customer sales experience. And we're proud to be Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964. Pickup and delivery service restrictions do apply. Ask your service coordinator or service advisor at RBM of Atlanta for details. Join A Second Chance Bail Bond CEO Daniel Madelon and host Tug Coward for the weekly radio show Back Your Blue. They will highlight special initiatives, criminal justice programs, and community events aimed at keeping our communities safer. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to learn some good news about and from the law enforcement and justice communities. Tune in on Saturdays or catch up on all past episodes wherever you get your podcasts or at thepodcastpark.com.
No one plans on going to jail, but when it happens, it's important that you know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds, where we believe everyone deserves a second chance. Whether your loved one's been arrested in Cherokee, Clayton, or any of the other metro Atlanta counties in between, A Second Chance Bail Bonds works fast to help expedite release within hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT or online at atlbail.com.
Don't miss the first MLB All-Star Week event at Truist Park as talent meets tradition in the 3rd annual HBCU Swingman Classic presented by T-Mobile and powered by the MLBPA Youth Development Foundation. Join fans, athletes, and alumni to watch Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. shine a light on 50 of the best young ball players from HBCUs around the country on baseball's biggest stage, July 11th at 7 p.m. Get your tickets today at allstargame.com/swingman.
A study by Allianz Life reveals that 63% of Americans harbor the fear of running out of money in retirement. With that, let's turn to Coach Pete. Coach, what about the word safe?
Safe. Big word. Big word. Misconstrued sometimes. When you hear safe, it seems boring to some people. Safe, you think of a CD at the bank paying 1%, but there are some safe strategies that will grow your money, help you participate in the upside of the market, but not the downside, and give you lifetime income you can never outlive. That is the true safe, and that puts safety, gives you peace of mind if you have the right safety, doesn't it?
It sure does. And get a look at what the right safety plan for your retirement could be. Call Coach Pete's local trusted advisor, Craig Chandler of Chandler Wealth Management. 800-419-6164. 800-419-6164. 800-419-6164. Craig Chandler, 800-419-6164.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's a Kimmer. How's it going? Here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
The best way in America to help the poor is to not be one of them. Stay in school, get a job, stick with it. Don't get pregnant with a baby you can't afford to raise. The roadmap is there. Learn to read maps.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. Deporting all the people that Joe Biden and the board of directors let into the United States is going to be incredibly tough. You even have some Republicans in places like California asking Donald Trump just to focus on the criminal illegals, which is tough because everybody that's come here has broken the law in some way or other. But I digress. I see what they're saying. Focus on those who have, really broken the law as far as, murder and sexual assault, just all these heinous acts. Use that word twice today, inadvertently.
The what act?
Anus? It was an anus act. It was terrible. That's right. We got Neil Bortz with that earlier. So good. But if you missed it, go back and listen to it on the Extra 106.3 app because Neil gets all sideways again. And he's easy to get off track. But But I want to play you this. This is just from Connecticut. Yes, exactly. I want to play you this. This is from like the local station in Connecticut. It's News 3, and they're breaking down that more than half of the illegals arrested in Connecticut have pending criminal charges or convictions.
Since President Trump took office mid-January, there have been around 247 ICE arrests in Connecticut, according to the Deportation Data Project, which collects information from ICE. A total of 61 people have been arrested. Roughly 25% were convicted criminals. 103, or rather 42%, had pending criminal charges, though data does not show what these charges are or convictions are. 33% of the people arrested had no criminal history. Now, the vast majority of those that were arrested are men, around 81%. Almost 35% of those arrested in Connecticut have been deported back to their home country, according to the data. The rest are being detained.
And that's the thing that I see, is you have this huge number in a little bitty place like Connecticut. And then multiply that by 50 states, and that's what we're dealing with, that half of the people, roughly half the people that are here illegally, have really bad, serious crimes on their rap sheet.
I know when Donald Trump said it, it felt at the time like he was taking something and blowing it up into a much bigger story.
Sure.
Because he does that. I mean, he's a television star. Mm-hmm. All right, he's a media mogul. That's what he does. He knows how to sell this stuff.
It sounds like hyperbole. It does
at times. Absolutely. When he told everyone that they're letting out their people out of their jails and sending them our way,
he was not wrong. He was not kidding.
I mean, the numbers are right.
It's
when
exactly
you look at pending charges or convictions in other countries, and these are not convictions that you would think have a very light sentence. No. It really turned into, we're turning you loose. Like, we're sending you, you're going to be somebody else's problem.
Think about how tiny Connecticut is. And then think about California, Texas. Think about us here in Georgia. How many people are here, especially with the accessibility of the airport, the interstate system, the ability to move people around. And you know the Biden administration was doing that. We saw it. They're flying people in all kinds of places. So if those numbers are that gigantic in little bitty Connecticut, can you imagine what they are nationwide? That's what you're up against. That's the problem we have, that I think most people, at least conservatives, Republicans, have a general idea of it. But I don't even think, like, if I were to ask my sweet wife, like, how many people do you think have a serious criminal record? And she's going to say, probably, some of them. I don't know. She's not going to know the answer. And that's the problem, that people don't recognize how serious this is.
I like going over to ICE, because on Twitter they will give you a rundown of who they have apprehended and kind of give you a little background. So, for instance, if you go back to the weekend, there was Daniel Estrada Ayala. Now, he is a citizen of Mexico. He ends up being, it points out, he has been convicted of transporting 33 kilos of cocaine into this country. Now, you start doing the math on it, you're like, well, okay, 33 kilos. That comes out to 72 pounds.
Good heavens.
You realize how much cocaine is 72 pounds of cocaine? A toddler size of cocaine that man has found a way to get into the country. And ICE is telling you, it's time to send this person home, or it's time to send them to Alligator Alcatraz.
Well, see, but that's where I was going to actually make myself a note to bring that up. Or Sudan. And now that the Supreme Court has said that can happen, it should. And these people that are like, no, we can't do that. It's a human rights issue. What? What about the rights of the people that are being murdered? What about the rights of the people that are being raped? What about the rights of the people that are being assaulted? Why don't we ever worry about their rights? They talk about due process. These people need due process. Okay, the American public didn't get any due process when they kicked the damn door open.
Ramon Jimenez Moreno, a citizen of Mexico. You know what he was convicted of in Mexico? Aggravated sexual battery. He has been a sex offender. That's who was here. That's who they arrested in New Orleans. Like, this is not just, he
just broke the law to get here for a better life.
Right.
Because that's always the framing.
That's always the framing. And does that exist? Absolutely. But what is been the target? And what is ICE having the target put on their back for? For going after illegals who have committed serious crimes in this country or in their country of origin.
Looking for one.
They're not going after your housekeeper. All right? Like it's just not realistic. It's not feasible. The numbers don't work. There's not enough money and manpower to do that. It's a focus on the criminal element.
There's a dude in Minnesota that is convicted of sex crimes. He's from Kenya. He avoids getting deported because the Democrats up there won't allow it, and lands a state job. He is now working for the state as a convicted sex offender because the Democrats won't deport him. They won't allow this man
I saw that story. I didn't believe it at first.
I didn't either.
I
thought it was fake. I thought it was fake.
I thought it was a
state.
He's working for the state.
The state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yes. So he's teaching 3rd grade or 4th grade? Well, what is he doing here?
He's overseeing the Department of Education.
I knew it.
Yeah, no.
It's impossible.
How could anybody look at that and say, this is okay? Of course we want to keep him here. Of course we want to give him his due process. Of course we want to take care of him. It just doesn't make sense unless you think, oh, they have to keep these people here to backfill. They need voters. And there's so many Democrats that are now at least will admit, yes, that's what we're doing. And that's what we did. I had a cut. We don't have time to play it now. But it's a billionaire Democrat donor, Antonio Gracias. And when he says, yes, that's exactly what the Democrat Party's doing. And I'm disgusted by it.
And that's why he made it a point. I'm not funding this stuff anymore.
I'm done. And he brought up the whole Social Security thing where my Aunt Peg falls into this trap. Brings it up saying they basically set the ability to get Social Security cards down to 0. So anybody that just says, hey, I want a Social Security card can get one. He said they did that on the federal level because that's where Social Security is. So when anybody would just say, hey, I want Social Security, I need a check, they would get it.
Here's how filthy it is, because I saw this video too over the weekend. It was a gentleman who was trying to secure a permit in Los Angeles in order to rebuild a portion of the home that they lost in a fire. They're flat out being told, we don't know when we can permit you. Might be years down the road. So they're willing to not permit you so you can rebuild your home, but they'll give illegals a Social Security card in order for them to secure services as quickly as possible.
And when you have a Social Security card, you have the ability to get driver's license. And a lot of states offer them to illegals anyway. But think about all the things that you would be able to access in the federal government as far as checks and services, having an actual Social Security card.
That's why, watch what happens in California. There's going to be a lot of disillusioned Democrats. They're going to be looking for something different because of what's going to occur to them in the next year.
100% right.
That's how you get that Operation Gold Rush as well.
Yeah, with all
the Medicare fraud, all these people from overseas.
Yeah.
Better give them a card.
Yeah.
Let them run it up.
Democrats have a new request from their party. Next on the Morning Xtra on Xtra 106.3.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Xtra 106.3.
John Cusack, actor, Hollywood, Wall Street, Hot Tub, Time Machine, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. John Cusack says that Iran should get a nuclear weapon. Why? To keep the United States from bombing every country in the Middle East. He's insane, but he's a liberal. But I'm being redundant here. He is a liberal. He is insane. Liberals are insane. Issues and Insets magazine, they reported on a little study last week. 9 out of 10 conservatives self-report that their mental health is excellent. Only 2 out of 10 liberals say that they're perfectly sane. 19% of conservatives say their mental health is poor. 45% of liberals say their mental health is poor. Hell, they can't even tell you what a woman is. 10 years ago, research by the University of Toronto found that conservatives are more emotionally stable than liberals. Here's a quote from that study. Democrats, progressives, socialists, anti-capitalist, and the rest who reside under the leftist umbrella are unhappy, and they want everybody else to be just as miserable as they are. Now, I, on the other hand, identify as a libertarian. You want to talk about bat guano crazy libertarians. We dress up as stuffed animals for our national convention. And a few decades ago, they actually approached me about running for president on the libertarian ticket. Now that's nuts. Nothing further to say. From the home of Alligator Alcatraz, this is Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Atlanta legends are only on Extra 106.3 with the one and only Kimmer on your ride home every afternoon.
Now, Pete Davis, you know these people.
I've never seen these people in my life.
Now, here we go. Anyway, we have a ball game tonight, and two of your friends, well, actually three.
Two and a half.
Two hot Kimmer babes and their father are here today.
It's the Kimmer Show on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app. The Kimmer Show is live on your ride home on WFOM and W292 EV Marietta on Dickey Broadcasting Station, Extra 106.3.
24 hours and counting. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. The Senate has been debating and voting since yesterday morning on dozens of amendments to the Republicans' tax and spending bill.
I think we're doing well. We're going to have to see. It's very complicated stuff.
President Trump says he thinks it'll pass in the end by or somewhere around their Friday, July 4th deadline. But Republicans right now do not have the votes, apparently, to get it through the Senate. They need 50. An amendment to the Senate version, though, has passed 99-1.
The One Big Beautiful Bill Act will no longer prevent individual states from regulating AI for 10 years. House members like Marjorie Taylor Greene had threatened to vote no on the bill if the Senate kept the moratorium in the bill. Supporters had argued because AI technology is rapidly evolving, having states hyper-regulate it could have national security implications.
That's Fox's Ryan Schmelz. President Trump is on his way to Florida to see a new immigration detention facility nicknamed Alligator Alcatraz.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the detention facility is surrounded by dangerous wildlife and unforgiving terrain.
This is an efficient and low-cost way to help carry out the largest mass deportation campaign in American history.
Protesters have lined the highway leading to the site, and environmental groups are suing the Department of Homeland Security, arguing the detention facility would disrupt the Everglades ecosystem. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Quadruple murder suspect Brian Kohberger is expected to plead guilty in Idaho.
He is now reportedly scheduled to appear in court tomorrow, where he's expected to plead guilty to the heinous, cold-blooded murders of 4 University of Idaho students. The guilty plea will allow Kohberger to avoid the death sentence and accept life in prison.
Fox's Matt Finn. The deal is opposed by the family of at least 2 of the students stabbed to death in 2022. Former House Democrat and pro football player Colin Allred says he'll run for Senate in Texas again next year. He lost to incumbent Republican Ted Cruz last year. America's listening to Fox News.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Michaela's Mobile Spa, Michaela! Michaela got a quick business insurance quote from Progressive and chose from over 30 customizable coverages. Sure, it helps she's her only employee and does literally everything. But while others would rest on their laurels, Michaela was hard at work saving big. So take that, hypothetical other employee who doesn't exist. Be your own Michaela. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
For hourly Fox News updates and the best in conservative news and talk, keep it on Extra 106.3 or download the Extra 106.3 app.
Tug and Los until 10. Glad that you're here. And we appreciate you listening to Extra 106.3 for as long as you have. and in the ways that you have. Mainly the Extra 106.3 app, which is the best and most convenient way to listen because you can listen live and on demand. If you miss something, you can go back and listen to it whenever you have time, whenever you want to, whatever your schedule allows. But also available extra 1063.com, 1063 FM, 1230 AM. Today is a very special day. And it's one day that I think most people would kill to have. If they could just have this one day every year, and it would be, they would get a check for $1.1 million.
You brought it up. I was going to bring this up here in this hour. I'm so glad you did.
Yes, I've been sitting on it all morning.
It's such a great story.
It's the most insane, wonderful, amazing, crazy story in the history of maybe all sports.
You tell it.
Well, it's the fact that Bobby Bonilla, he gets paid $1.1 million every July 1st. He got this incredible contract, and they, with this an incredible amount of money, and they just spaced it out every year. They're like, we're going to give you this every year so we can pay for you.
So if you don't know the story, the New York Mets, this was their big signing. When Bobby Bonilla, Bobby Bo as he was known during that time period, star in Pittsburgh, hits the open market, and the Mets are like, we're bringing him in, but we're deferring a large amount of his contract. And he just looked at it as, okay, well, let's make a deferral period. Like, for instance, some guys defer, like Shohei Ohtani with the LA Dodgers. The majority of his contract pays out in, I think it's like in 20 years, when he's done playing baseball so that he can be out of the state of California.
Because of all the taxes.
Because of all the taxes. So he'll be able to keep a majority of his money by moving to obviously a tax-free state. Bobby Bonilla got essentially $1 million, it's a 1.1 that he's paid every July 1st, and that'll run through 2035.
Unbelievable.
And this is a contract he signed in the 90s.
Was it 99? Was that the year?
Believe so.
1999? Yeah, I think so.
The contract, the yearly payout started in 2011.
Okay.
When was the last time he played baseball?
I'd be willing to bet it was like 2004, maybe?
Yeah.
That sounds about right. I don't have in front of me, I don't see it in the ESPN article, but I'm sure that's somewhere close to being right. He'll be 72 when he gets his last $1 million check. 70.
You brought up the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I saw this when they first did the big Ohtani deal. It's like in 2050, the Dodgers will still be paying Freddie, Mookie Betts, and Shohei Ohtani a combined total of something like $70 million a year.
That's the deferred payments.
Deferring.
They're all deferring. By the way, Bobby Bonilla was done after the 2001 season.
He's not played ball. And he's still going to get $1 million all the way to 75.
Almost quarter century.
Dude, that is amazing.
That'll keep you healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll keep you from being bankrupt. Like a lot of ball players make terrible decisions with their money. Bobby Bo, man, he can. And through 72, they're going to replenish him.
There's only one other deal in the history of sport where I would tell you it matches up to this or it's even better.
Allen Iverson?
No. The Spirit of St. Louis. Now, does that ring a bell to anybody? Jerry right now is looking at me like, what do you mean the Spirit of St. Louis?
Is that a plane?
I'm not sure I know either.
That's kind of funny. That's typically what you would say. It's Spirit of St. Louis. All right, so let's imagine that us three, we own a basketball team. Lower level, ABA, it's the 1970s. And the NBA comes to us and says, we're expanding. We're bringing in these teams, but not you. It's like, well, wait a minute. It's like you're bringing in the Pacers and Denver and San Antonio, but you won't bring in the Spirit of St. Louis? The NBA, yes, we are buying you out. And we decide, okay, I'll tell you what. We'll take a deal, but what we want is an equal share of the television revenue for the remainder of the league existence. Now, keep in mind, the NBA was not on live television.
Then
they were tape delayed for years and years and years. It wasn't until the Bird and Magic era, as we got into the early 80s, where the NBA suddenly was actually on television. And then when you look at what happened, obviously it blew up. Well, for years, the NBA would have to cut a check. They'd cut a check in television revenue over to the Hawks and over to the Bulls and over to the Pacers and over to the Thunder. and they would have to cut a check to two guys who own the Spirit of St. Louis, we're talking about a crazy amount of money for a team that didn't even exist anymore. The NBA did this for the better part of about 30-some years before they finally were able to buy them out of the deal.
Just unreal, man. Just to have that foresight, to be able to say, you know what? Here's our play. And I'm sure the NBA at the time were like, heck yeah, dude. Like Lo said, we're taping. Like, you ain't getting nothing. You get nothing. And then all of a sudden, things really change. And that number then goes through the roof.
Okay, so here's what it comes down to. So the Spirit of St. Louis and the NBA TV deal. The deal was intended to be perpetual, which that's how it was lined out.
Sure.
The Silna brothers received over $300 million, and ultimately they were bought out by the NBA in 2014 for $500 million.
So $800 million total for a team that didn't even exist.
If there's a better deal ever, tell me about it when it comes to sports and contracts.
That actually trumps Bobby Bowe.
Like Bobby Bowe, but I always look forward to today because it allows me to talk about the Spirit of St. Louis and one of the greatest deals ever lined out.
Just having the ability to see that far ahead. I wonder how old does it say how old those guys were? Because that's the next thing. How long did they have to wait to just cash in? Because it's going to be generational wealth, and they're probably fine with the fact that their family will benefit for the rest of their lives because of it, even if they didn't early on.
Well, they're probably successful business guys. If they owned the team and they were making things happen, I mean, I'm sure they didn't just say, all right, it's coming in one day. It might have been a bad leverage situation. They just said, yeah, we'll take it. And then it turns into the late 80s and the 90s. Michael Jordan comes along.
Oh, my gosh, dude. I used to watch the NBA nonstop through the Jordan or through the Magic and Bird days. And, with Dominique Wilkins was obviously a big deal. And then when Jordan came on the scene, good heavens. You couldn't have talked me out of missing an NBA game then.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much these days, but then. Does it say how old they were?
That's what I'm taking a look at as of right now because this story...
Probably later in life, though. But I think Jeray's probably right.
So this was 10 years ago.
Okay.
And at the time, Daniel was 69 and Ozzie was 80.
Oh, so they're pretty young when this started.
When they lined out this deal, when you look at it from the early 70s, so we're now talking these guys were basically like 29 and 40.
Good heavens.
They've been living well.
Yeah, yes, they have.
Goodness.
Something else for today. Just... it's not as cool as that. It's Blink-182 Day. It's the 182nd day of the year.
Oh, there you go. Is that why you've been playing all the Blink-182?
Right.
So I did pick up on it. I didn't know why. There you go. I like it. It's like 404 Day. Back in April, I get 404 Day which I always like that stuff. To be honest, I know it sounds corny, but I always. I mean, it's a little bit of a throwaway.
I had Enema of the State.
Yeah, so did I. And
what was the live album? Take Off Your Pants and Jacket.
Yeah.
Yep.
I always liked the first one that had Damn It on there, and I don't remember the name. Dude Ranch. That was actually my favorite one. And then, Enema of the State was the one that made them superstars for sure. And still.
It was a good run.
Living off of that money.
It's a very strong run.
Is it Mark Hoppus or the other guy that's a big UFO?
It's the other guy.
Forget his name. Travis, of course, went through that plane crash.
Travis
Great
Barker,
drummer. And he's still married to one of the Kardashians or something.
Something like that. I forget the other guy.
It's Tom DeLonge.
Tom DeLonge. There you go.
Yeah. Tom DeLonge is big into the UAP deal.
Okay.
Just like me.
you and Tom got so much in common, and you enjoy his music too.
We chat quite a bit.
Yeah, no doubt.
Do you prefer UAP or do you still stick with UFO? Because I can't get off UFO.
The only reason we have something as UAP, it's because for years, if you had it as UFO, it was pretty much the buzzword in any investigation that this is not legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas UAP has now turned into this all-encompassing, we can't explain what this is aerial phenomenon.
And I wouldn't try to explain it because I know nothing. But I don't, even though I'm not a big UAP guy, it doesn't hit my radar screen necessarily very much.
But don't I sound more legit when I say I'm a UAP enthusiast?
But that's what I was about to say.
That's the reason why.
It does give it credibility. It does sound more credible.
Because if Jerry told you that he's a UFO hunter, you'd be like, nutcase. UAP enthusiast.
No. We talked about this before. I'm a Sasquatch hunter.
Yeah, that's true.
Going up to the mountains this weekend. I'm going to find them.
UAP, because I know those pilots aren't making it up when they see things on their radar screen that moves and it's not supposed to move that way. It's against science and physics and all that. I believe those pilots. I don't know what it is. I have no idea.
Do I think it's little green men?
No. I don't either.
But I'm open to anything.
I'm not ruling out anything either. And I'm not like a big UFO person. Sasquatch, I'm out. I mean, I'm just OUT.
I'm finding him.
I'm gone.
He's out there.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to be out there and look for birds with arms and machine guns.
Yeah, but I know that's not real. I just enjoy it. I just think it's funny. Like Sasquatch. You can't. I know they have that thing a little over in Blue Ridge, too.
Yes.
The little Sasquatch museum.
Drive by it every time we go to the mountains.
Yes.
Want to stop every time.
Yes. The Democrats have a request of their party. And I feel like their request, Los, is going to be even more detrimental to the party than the shape that it's already in.
This is very problematic for the Democrats because the Democrats now, according to their own polling, this is going to come from CNN. This is going to be Harry Enton who's explaining this. The problem the Democrats now have, they've reached that point in the communist takeover where the decision is made typically by younger people that you're not communist enough. Now, like to give you an example, like Chairman Mao Zedong, after the Chinese famine, after 50 million are dead, he recognized the only way he's going to stay in power was by being able to capture the youth of China. And so, for instance, he claimed to swim one of their rivers that's like 9 miles long, and everyone's like, wow, he's a great swimmer, like he's 70 years old. But now the younger people in China didn't look at him as old. They looked at him as like, he's our dear leader.
He's strong.
They looked at their parents who were disillusioned as being old. That's why they had the struggle sessions, and they would basically turn on their parents and hand them over to the government. So that is now the point we're at here, where the young Democrats do not care for their current leaders. Take a listen to Harry Enton as he breaks this thing down.
What should they take away is that the party leaders, Democrats who say they want to replace their party leaders, look at this, 62% nationally say yes compared to just 24% who say no. That lines up with the idea that Democrats view their own members of Congress, their own leaders in Congress, record low approval rating. Democrats right now are out for blood. They want to take out their party leaders. And you saw that with Andrew Cuomo going, adios amigos, goodbye, see you later in New York this past Tuesday.
What he's basically telling you, the street communists, they're always going to be, there's the elite communists, there's the street communists. The street people are the ones that are out there doing all the damage and causing all the problems, and the elites are the ones that sit back and get to basically direct which way the party's going. They get to keep all the money, they have all the power. The street people, until they become disillusioned, they're basically the foot soldiers. All right? Here's the queen, here's the drone, they're the drones. The problem is the drones are now upset with the queen. And that's what's going to push this thing even further. You imagine, we are 24 years removed from 9/11 in New York. And 24 years later, you're going to have a Muslim mayor who's telling the other 1 million Muslims in New York to vote for him. Like, this was a city that had a problem at the time in 2001, 2002 with having a mosque. And now here's where it's moving.
And Mamdani, when he was talking about some of the things that he wanted to do, he's talking about seizing the means of production, which is very communist, obviously, seizing private businesses. He says he'd like to seize private properties and turn it into communal living. He said all kinds of crazy stuff. And it was crazy. We played the audio yesterday. Because, I mean, he's a communist.
He's out there, yeah.
What
it is.
And he had a supporter of his with the keffiyeh around his neck,
right,
come up and scream at him. Tell him, how could you say Israel has the right to exist? They do not. That's what he said. It's just another example of not being communist enough. This guy is saying everything that a communist would say and should say, and he still had people, Los, coming up saying, nope, not enough. We need even more communist leadership than you.
Not enough. And that's the cycle, though. We talked about the revolution. It's always the same. They get into power, them being the street guy. They get into power. They have power. Somebody else comes along who says you're not communist enough. And so what it does, and this is the issue the Democrats have, they're being pushed further and further away from the general Democrat. That person who grew up as a Clinton household, who just wants blue dog Democrat policies. I want to be socially liberal. I want to be physically conservative. you don't have a place in power with these people any longer. So that's why our tent keeps getting larger.
And some Democrats are noticing. Stephen A. Smith, I brought this up earlier.
Yeah.
He said they are doomed. The Democrat Party is doomed if they become more like Mamdani. And yet, you have Senator Chris, what's his last name? Chris Murphy, thank you. Chris Murphy saying that's exactly what we need to do. We need to go be more like, he physically said, Los, we'll win more elections if we do.
Kamala Harris got beat, again, the entirety of the popular vote and 7 swing states. And that woman only said a couple of things that were a little bit communist. She talked a little bit about price controls. And what was the response? Don't talk about price controls.
The Washington Post called her out on it.
They're like, do not talk about, we're trying to get you to win. Do not talk about price controls. And yet, Chris Murphy is talking about, we need to be talking about price controls.
Lean into it.
Lean into all of these this communist ideology.
We'll win more elections if you lean into it.
We'll be great. It'll be fine. It's going to be awesome.
And then a guy that's that's not a politician, and Stephen A. Smith goes, dude.
It's like, that's not going to work.
That's not going to do it, dude. If you think that's going to win you some elections nationally, you way wrong.
I do believe, just because, and especially when it comes to like the Latin American community, for those people who, and not so much when it comes to anyone who's of any sort of Mexican origin or anything along those lines, like the people that lived in like Central and South America, they picked this stuff out so quickly because they've escaped family who have dealt with communism. And I think we're now getting to the point where you have black Americans that start hearing the buzzwords of, wait a minute, whenever the government has had a large amount of power, this is what they've done to me, my family, culture, whatever you want to bring up. And now you have people advocating for the government to have more power. It's like, who gets the short end of the stick on this one? I know who historically does.
The people every time. The people that they claim to be lifting up.
That they're representing the most.
Do not get anything but the short end of the stick every time.
I mean, I only know of one story of the government going, well, why don't we try this whole syphilis thing and see how it plays out long term? And who did they experiment on? The ones that they felt they could.
The ones that could get away with it.
And this government is talking about more power?
Freezing the rent, free bus fares, Department of Community Safety, defunding the police, but a Department of Community Safety, no-cost child care, city-owned grocery stores, housing by and for New York, meaning the government owns. So everybody lives in the projects because he said he wants to seize personal property and turn it into communal living. Everybody lives in the projects.
This can be done, but you're going to have to be willing to give about 80% of your income. If you're going to live there, you're going to have to understand your money is not your money anymore. In fact, you don't really have income. It just belongs to the state.
Who's going to stay in New York?
Who's going to sign up for that?
Nobody.
Oh, no.
Nobody.
There'll be people that do. They'll be like, this is such a utopia. It'll be the people with money that get out.
But that's what I'm saying. That I should have been more clear. The people that work hard and have made a living and made a life for themselves, they're not going to live in a place where they're giving up 80% of their taxes. Why would they? When they go to Florida and not pay any, go to Tennessee, no state tax whatsoever.
And this is going to have to be, it won't even, because it'll never fly through the state. This is going to have to be a city-generated deal, a city tax. That's what they'll have to do, because he doesn't have the power to do it any other way.
He's convinced, though. I saw an interview with him last night. He's convinced that all those rich people are going to stay because he's going to make it so much better for them. Let's say some of them are foolish enough to do it. How long does it take them to figure it out? 6 months? A year? Couple years? Then you bail out? At some point, everybody that works hard and has made a life for themselves will bail out. There's no doubt. The RFK autism vaccine bombshell. The next discussion on Xtra 106.3.
Start your day with Tug and Los on the Morning Extra from 6 to 10. Then it's Glenn Beck, Clay and Buck at noon, and the Kimmer Show on your ride home from 3 to 6. And hang out every night for Jesse Kelly at 6 and Jimmy Fela at 9. And stream it all live in crystal clear HD on the Extra 106.3 app.
A company that has been trusted in Atlanta for over 25 years has already done their hometown homework, like having the very best people, fair, honest pricing, exceptional customer service, and a focus on high-quality work. That's us. Hi, I'm Dan Watkins, owner of All Four Seasons Garage, Entry Doors, and Windows. Sometimes new isn't better, like out-of-town home improvement companies invading Atlanta with their inflated pricing and subpar work. When trust matters, trust us. All the number 4 seasonsgarages.com.
Hey, this is Matt from East Cobb. We basically bought our house from our in-laws. It was my wife's childhood home. One of the issues that we've had when we first moved in was our dog in our backyard. It was extremely shaded, could never grow grass back there. We resodded it twice. So ATL Turf Co. did an amazing job with our backyard transformation. They basically created a miniature golf hole. We have a miniature fairway. We also have a miniature little putting green. Consists of about 4 holes, total about 40 yards, so you can definitely work on your short game and your putting. After that transformation that ATL Turf Co. did for us, my father-in-law came and saw his house the way it looked after the fact of we had a putting green and a miniature golf course. Sure enough, he did the same thing with ATL Turf Co. He has a beautiful backyard, wonderful stonework, drainage, and a beautiful practice area for chipping and putting. Check him out online at atlturfco.com.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Retirement means different things to different people. Some folks want to travel the world. Some folks want to spend more time with grandkids. For me, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my guitar. Whether extravagant and robust or simple and cozy, every retirement needs a plan. You wouldn't take a trip without directions. You have to know where you are before you know where you're going. Master Plan Retirement Consultants have helped many like you plan for their own retirement. Not only does Master Plan help you create the roadmap, they join you on the journey. So whether you want to travel the world, become a pickleball champ, or just looking for a good porch, a sturdy rocking chair, and an acoustic guitar, remember to plan well because the destination is worth it. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Gentlemen, listen up. When it's not hard, it's really hard. Did you know that 50% of men over 50 have some form of ED? It's true, and I'm one of them. ED followed me everywhere. Heck, even my initials are ED. I'm Dr. Eric Deal from Total Body Therapy of Georgia, and I know ED. It can lead to feelings of embarrassment, stress, and sadness. But there's good news. I can fix it. I fixed mine, and I can fix yours too. At Total Body Therapy of Georgia, we are experts in the P-shot, testosterone replacement, regenerative therapy, trimix to create an erection, and more. Guys, ED won't get better on its own, but I can help you today. Call us at 404-777-1911. That's 404-777-1911, or learn about us more online at tbtofga.com. So take it from me, ED, Dr. Eric Deal at Total Body Therapy of Georgia. Call 404-777-1911 or online at tbtofga.com.
Senior software developer positions offered by CETA Information Networking Computing USA, Inc. in Atlanta, Georgia. Design, develop, and maintain specific software modules within an application or system using existing and emerging technology platforms. Write and deliver code for features and modules, debug existing code and modules, and provides technical guidance to less experienced developers. Please submit resume to gosia.mikolajczyk@sita.aero. Reference job ID 8533785.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Tuesday, July 1st. Over 100 new laws go into effect today in Georgia, including the Riley Gaines Act that bars trans athletes from competing against the opposite sex in grades K through 12. Other new laws include a Georgia state tax cut, a ban on cell phones for students in class up to 8th grade, and if you're a hunter, pink is now an approved color alongside safety orange. Demolition began yesterday on the old Atlanta Medical Center with a large audience of former staff on site. Developers and city officials were there to declare it the beginning of the Boulevard Next project, which will include housing for teachers, police, firefighters, and nurses. Wellstar CEO Candace Saunders said healthcare services will also be part of the development in the future. Demolition is set to be completed by January 2026. Storms will continue through the early part of this week. Today, starting partly cloudy with storms possible this afternoon. Temperatures will reach the high 80s. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
Tug and Los until 10. Thank you for being here. 404-741-1230 at Extra 106.3 across the social media platforms. RFK Jr. sat down with Tucker Carlson and had a interesting conversation. They covered a lot of ground, including the fact that Donald Trump cries when he hears Pavarotti. I would have, be honest,
surprising.
I would have never guessed that.
There's also things you don't really admit to, right?
Yeah,
I mean, unless you're pretty secure with that.
Yeah, and I've never, I don't know that I've ever heard Trump say it. I don't know that I've ever heard him deny it. I know he's a music guy. I know he's super into music. Loves Frank Sinatra. He loves R&B. Like 70s and 80s R&B. He's totally into that stuff.
I mean, you tear up when Apollo dies.
Well, it's hard not to.
That's a tough one.
That is, man. I mean, if we're on Rocky, come on.
I mean, I always watch the end of Hoosiers because it's always going to get me.
Dude, you know what scene gets me more than any other movie? And this may sound silly, but it does. Sandlot, 4th of July scene.
Really? Of all things?
I love that scene. That's maybe one of my favorite scenes in all the movie. They just can't wait to get to the baseball field to play a night game because the fireworks illuminate the sky enough. And you're like, it's just so simple. It's such a kid thing. Like, adults are too busy to think of that, right? And the kids go straight. They couldn't wait. It's the only time they get to play a night game.
So whenever you think about your dad leaving for cigarettes and never coming back, you think about that, and that puts you in a better place?
It does. It makes me more hopeful.
Sweet.
It makes me think, well, Daddy's just...
That actually didn't happen, but it's fun to joke around about.
Yeah, that's right. But if he would have, that would have made me feel much better.
Daddy left for cigarettes, and he never came back.
That's actually happened to my cousin Curtis. That's why he steals. I love Curtis.
That's the reason why. Sorry, Curtis.
You get it just as more we chip away. You find out. You start getting the
Listen, he'll give you the shirt off his back, and he'll steal your rims.
That's right.
That's why he steals.
Because his daddy left. That's why. Look, Neil Ports brings it up all the time. Follow those homes, cause problems. Ask Curtis, he knows.
Yeah, there's a lack of discipline.
He knows.
It exists.
Yeah. So, but anyway, some of the other things that came out in this discussion was the rate of autism that sprung up after a particular vaccine got implemented.
You ever think about watching? It was Jim Carrey and Jenny McCarthy. And it's been now like 15, 20 years when they were like on Larry King.
Yeah, on CNN.
And they're talking about there is this connection that we need to look, just that they need to look into it. Needs to be looked in by science. Why are we having this explosion of autism going on? And the only thing that had been enhanced during that time period was the vaccine schedule. And they're trying, again, correlation, causation, these are not linked, but they're saying like, what is going on? And largely, the medical field has just told you, well, we're just better at diagnosing this. So now we have somebody in power, in RFK Jr., who is really paying attention to this. And he brought up something on Tucker that went everywhere, especially when it comes to those parents that believe that their children have been vaccine injured. Take a listen as he talks about when this information, in terms of vaccines tied to childhood autism, that the government, Big Pharma, that they've known about it.
What you would do if you wanted to find the answer, which is to compare outcomes in a fully vaccinated group to health outcomes in an unvaccinated group. And CDC did that study in 1999. They brought in a team of scientists under a Belgian researcher named Thomas Verstraeten. And they looked at the data. They looked at children who had received the hepatitis vaccine within the first 30 days of life and compared those children to children who had received the vaccine later or not at all. And they found an 135% elevated risk of autism among the vaccinated children. And it shocked them. They kept the study secret, and then they manipulated it through 5 different iterations. to try to bury the link. And, we know how they did it. They got rid of all the older children, essentially, and just had younger children who were too young to be diagnosed. And they stratified the data, and they did a lot of other tricks. And all of those studies were the subject of that kind of trickery.
That is a man telling you who's currently getting to take part in this level of power with Maha in this portion of the government. 1,100 risk increase of autism. 1,135%. Now, it, as he's pointing out, doesn't mean they got autism. What it meant was some of the markers that indicate autism had been hit in the vaccinated group versus the unvaccinated group. An 1,135% more chance if you were in this group. And as he pointed out, then what they decide to do, and we talked about this before, when you have studies where you're trying to hide data, you start to smooth the information. As he says, age stratified. You smooth the information so it all looks normal. And that's what they did.
They did very similar. And this is in a different direction, but they did the exact same thing. And the New York Times, give them credit, they reported on it with gender-affirming care. They said kids that were given this did not lessen their suicide rates or their feelings of none of that. It was all buried. New York Times reported on it. That was a study that was done at one of the Ivies. Don't quote me, I can't remember which. Another study, exact same thing out of the Netherlands. What did they do? Same thing, bury it.
We saw this 4 years ago when you had the explosion of cancers within the DMED data that was all tied to the vaccine rollout within military personnel, young people. And what was the response of the government at the time? Yes, we've seen this increase in 2021, 2022. But the problem is that our 2019, 2018, 2017 data was all wrong. So they pumped up those numbers to make it look normal. That is how you bury this stuff. That is how, if you need a certain outcome, this is what goes on. That's why I'm glad that there is somebody out there who is squeezing Big Pharma as of now. We're getting more of these additives getting out of our products, getting more of this food coloring that's being voluntarily taken out of our products. Now it's going to come down to, when are we going to start taking a real bite out of the influence Big Pharma has within our media and our lifestyles?
I do believe that's coming. I do, because RFK has said it. He's on the record talking about it.
He's like, if we just stopped advertising, okay, that'd be monstrous.
But look at the way he was treated by the mainstream media for years.
Oh, he's a crackpot. Yeah.
Remember, you brought up Jim Carrey and Jenny McCarthy. How were they treated when they brought up these
quacks.
I don't want to say it ended their movie careers, but it certainly put a dent in them.
Definitely.
What have they done since?
No, Jim Carrey, from that point on, now he started doing more serious roles, but at this point he does Sonic the Hedgehog movies because he's like, I need the money.
Yeah.
Jenny McCarthy turned into, now she was a talk show host,
sure,
and she's been doing that, but they were vilified in a way for asking the question.
Exactly right.
Like, do you remember, and this is now 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago, you remember when Tom Cruise went on the Today Show, and I believe it was with Matt Lauer, and they were going back and forth about, and he was talking about the history of psychiatry and how you're just masking the problem. You're giving these kids these drugs. And flat out Lauer's just like, well, you're not a doctor, Tom. He's like, but I know the history. He was right, too.
Yes, he was. He was absolutely right.
But the game is to make sure nothing hurts Big Pharma.
Which is because so many people are getting paid. So there are so many backdoor deals, so many backroom deals. All these people are making so much money. That's why you don't see it on any news channel, any of them. They will never say a negative word about anything in the pharmaceutical company. Have you ever noticed that? It's because their biggest advertisers are the pharmaceutical companies.
So we can go back to 2017, and you'll find corresponding articles in 2018, 2019. Jerry Jones is the owner and general manager of the Dallas Cowboys. If you didn't know, he's one of the most powerful men in the NFL because when the NFL started entering into the salary cap era, he was a marketing genius. He's like, now that we're full on revenue sharing, here's how we need to sell our product. He's the one who brought in the better TV deals and the big corporate money. He's, as a businessman alone, he's a legend in the league. One of the things that he brought up back in 2017 was we can keep giving these players these opiates, these hardcore drugs, but we need to re-examine our marijuana policy so that players will have an alternative to just hardcore opiates. And who made that go away? Big Pharma. You're like, you can't say it. Look at how much we advertise with you guys. You can't talk about natural remedies for these guys that are in pain. And since then, Jerry Jones hasn't said a peep about any of this stuff.
It's amazing how they can get to anybody. They can get to anybody. And I'll tell you, this is another story. This is a personal story. My mom and dad adopted my cousin. And they've raised her since I was in the Navy. I was 19 when they adopted her. She was 6 months old. She's 25 now. My mama, I told y'all she was anti-vax before anti-vax was cool. I almost got kicked out of kindergarten 2 or 3 times. And they're like, do not bring your child back until he's vaccinated.
Like, until you hit with that tetanus.
That's right. Do not bring him back.
He looks like a candidate for lockjaw.
That's right. So my mama already didn't want to do this. And she knew what was going to happen with adopted daughter. She knew she was going to have to get the vaccines. And she hated every second of it. If we were to bring her on the show this morning and ask her about it, she would tell you that those vaccines caused my adopted sister to have autism. She is 1,000,000% convinced, and she can tell you every detail, everything that she's noticed, every change that's happened in my sister's life since those things, since she took the vaccines. She's convinced of it, dude.
RFK Jr. is telling you that the government had a study in 1999 that they buried that showed that there was a 1,135% increase in the possibility of having autism if you took this round of vaccines.
This is a woman who's raised 4 kids, because I had a brother who passed, me, my sister, and my adopted sister. It's not like she doesn't understand child rearing. She can pick it out. She's not the most educated woman in the world. She is the wisest woman I've ever met in my whole life. And I'll be honest, when she first told me, I dismissed it. I did. Shame on me because I dismissed it. Now knowing what I know, I absolutely believe her. There's nothing in me that makes me not believe what she's told me because of her experience and what she's been through.
The CDC, as much as the FDA, are all bought and paid for.
100%.
They get the outcomes they want.
That's exactly right.
And so it's no surprise that you have a guy like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. pointing out this is not an abnormality. Like, to get to this information this is going to be harder than any budget battle, in my opinion, because the players in it, there is no bigger lobby in all of D.C. than Big Pharma.
The tentacles.
It is so big
that they have the network that they have of people that are willing to turn their heads, to look the other way, to take payoffs, to take kickbacks is limitless, and it does not discriminate for party because it's every one of them are guilty. So many people in politics, from Washington to the state of Georgia to probably your local communities.
If you want to know the number from the industry, so you can find it from 2021. Big Pharma on lobbying. We're not talking about advertising. We're just talking about getting in the ear of people who hold power. Spent $390 million in D.C. Like, the next closest is like $45 million.
Yeah.
Something silly like that.
And you're trying to tell me that nobody's raising their hand to take that money and lobby? Somebody taking it. And RFK Jr. is just pointing it out. He's just pointing out what you already suspected to be true.
Electronics manufacturing is at $180 million. Insurance is at $117. Real estate is at $111. Securities investments at $110. Routinely, pharmaceuticals and health products is over $300 million.
It's an unbelievable number. This is the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3, talking about things that nobody else is willing to. 404-741-1230 if you've got input, something you want to say about it. If you want to disagree with us, please, we'll have that discussion too. When we come back, trolling the new ICE app, the one that CNN was promoting. Next on the Morning Extra.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Tuesday, July 1st. The Atlanta Braves are back in action. After an off day yesterday, the Los Angeles Angels are at Truist Park to open up a 3-game series. It'll be Didier Fuentes on the mound for the Braves. Tyler Anderson gets the ball for the Angels tonight at Truist Park. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can listen to the game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. The Atlanta Hawks have continued to make moves with their offseason. They've agreed to a sign and trade deal with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He comes over from the Minnesota Timberwolves in exchange for a draft pick. He also receives a 4-year deal worth $62 million. The shooting guard was one of the best defensive players on the market. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Convenience is defined as the state of being able to proceed with something with little effort or difficulty. And at RBM of Atlanta, we embody this definition. Convenience is our middle name. Meet our Mercedes-Benz pickup and delivery service. It gives you back time and money. Does your Mercedes-Benz need service? If so, we'll pick up your vehicle that's requiring service from your home or office and bring it back to our dealership for those services. And once the services have been complete, we'll bring your Mercedes-Benz back to you. With over 100 appointments available every weekday, over 50 appointments on Saturdays, and more than 200 courtesy vehicles in our fleet, we're here to serve. We'll work around your schedule. We're here to save you time, energy, and money. RBM of Atlanta is a J.D. Power 2025 Diamond Dealer of Excellence for the customer sales experience. And we're proud to be Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964. Pickup and delivery service restrictions do apply. Ask your service coordinator or service advisor at RBM of Atlanta for details.
Hi, I'm Chris Lalamia, owner of the Trusted Toolbox. Got a to-do list a mile long? No problem. We've got the ultimate solution, our Handyman for a Day program. Here's how it works. You get a skilled handyman dedicated to knocking out your honey-do list. Paint touch-ups, drywall repairs, door adjustments, and much more, all done in one day. Call us now before the rush for your Handyman for a Day and call us at 770-623-3097 or visit us at thetrustedtoolbox.com. One call, one handyman, one day, The Trusted Toolbox.
I enjoy a good night's sleep, and I like to breathe while I'm sleeping. My wife appreciates that, too. That's why I wear a CPAP. You want the right machine. You want expert advice. You want all the supplies that go with it. You get it all at CPAPs, etc. in Alpharetta. Machines, masks, tubing, filters, cleaning supplies, all of it, and they ship nationwide. Walk-ins, by the way, are welcome. CPAPs, etc. Alpharetta, CPAPSETC.com.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. Okay, you're driving along. Suddenly you hear that horrible sound of metal and crunching. It's an accident. Even if it's a little minor fender bender, man, that could be a nightmare. First, obviously, take care of yourself. But before you make a deal with an insurance company or anybody else, call David Van Sant with Van Sant Law. You know why? Because he used to work for the insurance company, so he knows how to get the right settlement and right away. Van Sant Law. Don't forget, if you don't get paid, they don't get paid. Protecting your interests. Insurance is great, but it's complicated. 855-GA-INJURY or vansantlaw.com.
A golf instructor who knows technique can improve an aspiring pro swing. But one who really cares can help transform a career.
There he is, your new champion.
When you team up with someone who knows a lot and cares even more, you're unstoppable. At Truist, we believe the same is true for banking. Truist, leaders in banking, unwavering in care. Truist Bank, member FDIC, leading based on top 10 U.S. commercial bank.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit iZervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
The Kimmer Show is only live on Extra 106.3 every weekday afternoon on your drive home.
I may go home tonight and I get on my freaking chopper and go ride as fast as I can.
Already spent.
It's over. I can't even.
No, I'm just kidding. So I just brought you Tootsie Pops instead.
No, well, okay, well that would be an alternative because I'm going to put this in my mouth and
That's what she said.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
This blew up yesterday when CNN was promoting an app on air that was created by an Antifa leftist that basically tells anybody that decides to download this app where ICE agents are. And of course, he swears, hand on the Bible. Well, this is just to tell people to avoid the area. We mean no harm. Of course, we don't want to injure or attack or anybody to use it to attack ICE agents. No, an Antifa member? What would make you think that? I mean, every time you see Antifa, there's a brick going through a window. There's a car on fire.
They're so supportive of the system.
They're so kind, those Antifa people. That's the thing that drives me up the wall, is that these people say this as just for plausible deniability. Well, that's not what we created it for. And then CNN's dumb enough or supportive enough, depending on which way you look at it, to put this man on the air just to talk about it.
So ICE did respond. Now, how did they respond? They went on to X and they had a tweet that said, CNN never reached out to ICE for comment. If they did, we would have provided this statement. And it goes on to say, CNN's promotion of the ICE spotting app is reckless and irresponsible. Advertising an app that basically paints a target on federal law enforcement officers' backs is sickening. My officers and agents are already facing a 500% increase in assaults. And going on live television to announce an app that lets anyone zero in on their locations is inviting violence against them. That's why you need to download it. I need to download it. Jerry needs to download it. Tug, we all need to download the app. And just start putting in the falsest, craziest information in there. Just troll the hell out of the app.
Can I read you a few reviews on the App Store?
Yeah, let's do it.
This app promotes doxing of federal agents, which may lead to serious consequences for its developer and users. Okay, so that's someone who's making a little bit of sense. But this app may not actually be doing what they want it to do. This app is not working. It is sending me notifications, but when I open the app, nothing is in there. Downloaded it thinking it was a great idea, but it won't let me post about the ICE agents that have been harassing people in the parking lot at my job all morning. So it doesn't even work.
I wonder if there's smart hackers that may be dismantling this thing from the inside.
ICE block.
Yeah, right, or something, yeah.
I'm going to have it just so I can put out like the craziest places around.
They're at North Point Mall.
Avoid North Point. They're at North Point Mall.
That's right. They're in Sears.
Now,
I'm going to a cabin this weekend. They're in Blue Ridge.
That's right.
Do not go.
Like, am I inciting violence by taking part in that by putting in false information?
No.
I don't know, but I'd like to make sure that no one is tracking any data on ICE.
And not able to.
I mean, what did we have? Was it 2 weeks ago when the guy who was actually a convicted felon actually had been putting in the hotels they were staying in? And when the federal government reached out to him and the FBI, everyone's like, hey, by the way, you're not even allowed to have a police scanner, dude.
Yeah, because of your felony.
Your felony conviction for stalking.
Huge surprise that a convicted felon would be breaking the law.
He's a creepy dude.
Dude.
LA scanner. Total weirdo.
So many of them. I like your plan, though. I like the idea.
We're going to troll the app.
That's right. How do you fight back? This is the way.
This is the way we do it now. It's using their own technology against them.
And it's easy.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
I'm just going to do it every day from here.
That's right. I'm going to find the most random.
Come to Truist.
Yeah. They're in Chattahoochee Falls. They're in center field. They're in the outfield. Good luck missing them there. Now, I think that's the smartest way of doing it.
But also, shame on CNN.
Yeah, well, just because it's so low down. And it seems so desperate.
Well, you wonder who are producing these programs.
Well, I mean, I think that probably that speaks to the background and the belief system of the people there. That's why you didn't see it anywhere else.
Should I answer that?
I mean, probably not this second, but I mean, if you want to, I guess you could.
Kind of weird.
Uh-oh. So
you get an alert on ice block over there?
What?
No,
no.
That was actually you would think that of all people, your wife would know that you're doing a live radio show. But yeah, whatever.
And if it's super important, like a text,
maybe a text.
Yeah, just be like, hey,
maybe
emergency.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was like, my phone starts ringing. I'm like, what is it? Oh, okay, that's all right, weird.
Yeah, but we'll troll them as long as we can. Maybe tomorrow we can do a segment on where we put ice in the if we can get the stupid app to work to begin with. That'll be a fun segment for tomorrow. What do we got to look forward to in July? Happy Gilmore 2 comes out. I'm ready to be disappointed. I know it's going to be terrible. I get it. I know it, but I'm going to watch it anyway.
Very rarely do I get sequels that I'm interested in.
I know. Top Gun Maverick's about the only one that has come out that has been worth a dime. Are y'all interested in that new Superman movie?
A little bit.
Because that's one that I'm not much of a superhero guy, but I loved Superman back in the day. I've not seen any of the new Superman. I don't know why I would jump in on this one, but
I thought a little bit of like the Batman versus Superman. Now I'm not like giant into DC, but it was cool.
Okay.
And then the Justice League, it was fine. By the way, my wife just said, "OS, I mixed up time zones with the clock on my laptop. Sorry."
It happens.
It happens. I was like, why are you calling during the show?
2 weeks from now, All-Star Game.
That's right. We got that coming around.
Dude, that's another thing that's so cool.
Home Run Derby, you going to try and get in there?
I would love to. I mean, I don't know if...
you're Tug. You're the...
I don't know about
You're
that.
the mayor of the Battery at this point.
I don't know about that. But I would love to. My dad went to the 72 All-Star Game.
Oh, yeah, you're going.
I would
just tell everybody you've already got tickets to the suite.
I wish. Holy cow.
That you know the right people in this building and around this area, and you're squared away.
I wish.
All right. So, Jerry.
Yes, sir.
What would you put on it that Tug is in the building for the Home Run Derby or the All-Star Game? Either event.
Both. But, yes, I'd put $50 on it.
I'd put $50 or $100 on it. Like, no, like, in fact.
How much are tickets going for?
Like, come on.
How much are tickets going for?
I'm sure they're pricey.
Because a friend of mine reached out and wanted to buy some, and I was like,
as the mayor,
dude,
I think you'll be in the building. I got $100 that says you'll be in the building for either one of those events.
I would love, man. I got my fingers crossed. Like, here's the thing, though. If I were able to go, my son is going to lose his mind on me. He's like, I would come back to go to the All-Star Game, and I would rather him go than me anyway, even if there was a chance.
I can see this as like you just turned 21. This is like an awesome, dad-son event.
What are they going for?
Upper level, cheapest is $360 each for a pair.
Okay.
Section 26, though, you can get in for the low price of $5,628.
Yeah, I'd have to sit on top of the stadium.
Yeah, me too, man. I'd love to go. Have you ever been to an All-Star Game? You ever been to that?
No.
Have you any All-Star anything?
Even when the NBA All-Star Game was in San Antonio, it was still, even as season ticket holders, my family was like, yeah, you can have these.
Did you ever cover one, media, out there? Or here, for that matter?
No, I've just done like Senior Bowl, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
As far as like, bigger things. Final Fours, but never an All-Star game. No.
I remember we got to be down there for the Super Bowl that time of that media row thing.
Yeah, media row.
That was really awesome. None of us got to go to the game, obviously, but...
Nobody goes to the game.
Yeah.
It's all corporate and
it's where all the money
players and stuff, yeah.
That's big-time money there. That'll do it for us. Make sure you download that ice app, troll them, and we'll see. Maybe we can rendezvous tomorrow and see where we put ice. The best places to put ice. For Jure in Front Office Los, my name is Tug. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Live and local news talk continues at 3 p.m. with Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder. It's the Kimmer Show, only on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.